welcome to Polyglot podcast. Today we have a guest from the US, I guess. Are you in the US
Yes,
now?
I do.
So,
Yeah, so I live in Boise, Idaho, of all places in the United States. Pretty big state, but like very beautiful, but not very well known.
yeah, I know Idaho is somewhere in the north. Is
Yeah,
it in
yep, kind of near
the,
Washington, Oregon.
yeah, in the center and north, or is it a bit to the
It's a
west?
bit it's a bit more west than people think. But it's definitely like more center. Like it's more
Yeah,
center than a lot of states. Yeah.
yeah. So, what was the city called?
Boise.
Boise.
It's a
Oh,
French, so it's the French word for, or the old French word for forest, la boise, and
yeah,
it's the only part of Idaho that is like flat and like not
yeah,
mountainous.
yeah. Okay. And yeah, we haven't even introduced your name. And so Ryan, and how do you say your last name? Is it Freer or Freer, or like there are
Freer,
many?
yeah,
Freer.
Freer.
Yeah. I mean, there are many ways of pronouncing last names, so you never know.
Definitely, yeah. You never
Yeah.
know. You can never know. That's very true.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about the US, you have heritage from all over the world, so I have
Yeah.
no idea. Is Freer, is it from Germany or the Netherlands?
So
Or
so I asked my dad this, and I
yeah,
guess the lineage goes back super far. So it's a mixture. It's a Germanized French last name. So basically, it started off as Freyer, like the French, I don't know what it means exactly, but
yeah,
Freyer was the original pronunciation for it in French, and then it was Germanicized into Freer, but then it was
mm,
anglicized into Freer again, but it was the same kind of change, but I don't know how that change worked. And now it's just
yeah.
freer because it's anglicized.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So were you born in Idaho? In
Yes, I
was
was.
it
I'm born, raised
boys,
here.
boy,
Yeah,
boys, or the city? Boys, Boaz. What was it again?
Boise.
Boise. Yeah. So you were
Yeah.
born in Boise.
Yeah. Born and I've lived here all my life. And yeah, I mean, I hope soon, though, to kind of broaden my horizons and kind of move elsewhere because,
Yeah,
Boise's great. It's a great little haven, but like, I feel like it's time to just expand.
yeah. And how old are you now? Like
I'm
19,
17
18,
and
17? Yeah.
17 and I turn 18 in a week.
Oh, okay. You're also October's child, like me and my wife, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So my birthday is tomorrow, and my wife has her birthday in a week, like a bit over a week, 25th.
Wow.
Which day
Well,
is your
happy early
birthday?
birthday.
Thank you. Happy birthday to you too. Which day is
Thank
your
you.
birthday? 20
Uh, the,
something?
it's the 21st.
21st. Okay. And we're actually having a child, and we don't know which day is going to be born, but we hope it's
What?
going to be in October, because we both have our birthdays in
October
October. Yeah.
birthdays. Yeah, that'd
So
be awesome.
yeah, but we don't still know if it's going to be a Libra or a Scorpio,
Yeah,
or if it's if he's even going to be born in November. But we hope it's going to be October, so we will like create our October family.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah. So um, how many people live in Boise?
I mean, I don't know the exact number, but I'm pretty sure it's at a steady 100,000 people. But
Yeah.
the city of Boise itself is like very small. But what makes up the entire, I guess, metropolitan area is much
Mm,
larger. So I feel like there's probably 500,000 people that live in the valley of Boise, of where Boise is, but 100,000 in the city itself. So I mean, it's not a huge city. It's definitely not like Seattle or San Francisco, like any of those West Coast
yeah.
cities, but it's like really nice for its location.
Yeah. a bit bigger than where I currently live. I live in Rovaniemi. I don't know if you know the geography of Finland as well.
No, not really. I mean, I'm familiar with it, but I'm not like super. I'm
Yeah,
not that into it.
yeah. So Lapland is the northernmost region. It covers around one third of the country, and
Oh
Rovaniemi is
wow.
the biggest city here, and we have almost 70,000 people. So not that
Oh
big,
wow.
but uh, anyways, it's the biggest city in Lapland, and Lapland is the same size as South Korea,
Whoa, wow. Okay,
uh,
that's crazy.
the whole province. So, but only around 100,000 people live here in Lapland,
Yeah.
compared to South Korea's
Yeah,
40,
like
40 million, I think.
yeah,
So,
40 million. Yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy.
So,
Wow. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
and
a huge perspective. I mean, to put that many people into perspective in South Korea, that's crazy. Just
yeah,
compared to a region in Finland.
yeah, I saw somewhere the Wikipedia statistics. It's like almost identical, 100,000 square kilometers. So Lapland
What?
and South Korea, the sizes.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
because I think it gives a better perspective if I say, yeah, it's the size of South Korea.
Yeah, yeah, because that no, it really does paint a picture, but it's like at the same I've never been to South Korea, so like to
Yeah,
for me to like conceptualize that is even like difficult, especially for how many people that live in South Korea. Like that is a like a huge amount, but only for such small land. That's crazy.
yeah. Let me check the U.S. states because I will see which area. I mean, which state is the closest to Lapland size. I think that would like
Ooh.
paint a clearer picture for you.
Yeah, because South Korea, I think it's like the size of like it's probably just a smidge bigger than Connecticut, I'm
Mm.
thinking.
Okay, I found that Kentucky is 104,000 square kilometers. So
Okay, so that's like,
yeah,
oh wow, okay, that is
so
actually
it's
a lot.
almost the same. Yeah, and Indiana's 94,000. So the
Okay,
difference is 6,000 square kilometers. But so Kentucky is a bit like I mean between Kentucky and Indiana. I mean they are all almost the same size. So
okay,
maybe
okay. Yeah, no, that I can picture that now because I've been to both of those states, so that makes sense.
yeah.
But
And
wow, that's crazy.
let me see how big Idaho is. Isn't it? It's quite big, isn't it?
It's quite big. I think besides Texas and Alaska, it is the third largest state.
Oh no, it's actually
Oh, or
14.
no, California is bigger
14.
actually. Now that I
It seems to be 14.
it's 14th? Oh my
Yeah.
God. Okay, that's crazy.
Yeah, I
I didn't
mean,
know that.
there's Alaska, Texas, California, Montana, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, Colorado,
Oh,
Oregon,
oh my gosh. I
Wyoming,
didn't know Arizona was
Michigan,
bigger than
Minnesota,
Idaho.
Utah, and then Idaho with the
Oh my
two
gosh.
216,000 square kilometers. So that's like two-thirds of Finland.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh. Finland is huge. That's insane.
Yeah, Finland is not that huge, but it's in the top 10 in Europe. I think maybe fifth or sixth biggest, something like
Wow.
that. Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of like woodland in Finland. Like I know a ton of like hiker friends that have gone to
Mm.
Finland and like love it because there's so much untouched, untapped nature that it's just like it's just been there forever, you know?
Yeah, yeah, especially here in Lapland, because I
Oh,
mean
nice.
the population density is so small. Like, yeah,
That's nuts. That's really cool though. I mean, that's the same for here. Like population density in Idaho is like maybe I think like it's not very big, especially once you
yeah,
get out of Boise. It's very, very low.
yeah. And
I
what's
can't
the
remember the
big
number though.
mm, what's the biggest city in Idaho or the capital?
Boise.
Oh, so Boise is the capital of Idaho, or and the biggest city there.
Yeah, it's the capital and the biggest city. But then the second biggest city is not very big at all. I think it's 13,000 people. It's really not that much. Like it is
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah,
low compared to Boise.
yeah. Okay. So let's talk more about your language background. So
Yeah, of course.
before we start talking about you, maybe you could talk about your family, like what languages your siblings, your parents, your grandparents speak as like
Okay.
as a native tongue, and also like in total, what languages they
Yeah.
speak.
Okay, so I mean, my family background isn't that astounding. I mean, my dad doesn't speak any foreign languages, and although he's really interested in learning French from
Yeah,
me, he doesn't do very well. So my language background isn't that intense. But on my mom's side of the family, her grandma, I mean, my grandma is from Croatia, so I had a very large input of Slavic languages when I was younger. So like Russian, Czech, Slovak, Bulgarian. Like I had a
yeah,
huge input of Slavic languages just from like probably 4 until I was 11 until my mom moved away. And so Russian and Czech, Slovak, like those are my languages that I speak probably the best because of my upbringing in those. But it's not like
yeah.
very like I can't say that because my grandma is Croatian that's the reason I speak languages. I think it's
Mhm.
more that my wonder about what did my grandma do in this place. Like it was more
Yeah,
the interest of what my family did in that area that really brought me to learning the language, whereas it's not really that it was forced on me. Like my mom doesn't speak any foreign languages either, so for her it was like me learning her mom's language. It was like,
yeah.
what? That's crazy. And so I kind of just dove into this, wanting to learn languages all over the place kind of thing. And from Croatian, it's the weirdest thing.
Uh, let me ask a few questions. So, your grandma emigrated from Croatia to the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah, and married an American, and then started speaking English only in the family to your mom and maybe other siblings.
Yeah, but my
Mm.
mom, so my mom is the only person in my family or in her family that doesn't speak Croatian. So for her, it was really awkward growing up
Oh,
because
oh,
she never
wow.
really understood like what was happening. And so for her, Croatian, like she loves the culture. Like she
Yeah.
very much identifies as like a Croatian American person, but it's more of the language aspect and like, knowing about the country that she really struggles with.
How is it possible? Is your mom the youngest child?
Yeah. Yeah, youngest child.
So the others maybe. How was that?
More
How
like
did
in
that happen?
tune with the culture and the language. I feel because they're a
Yeah.
lot older than my mom is, so I feel like just that age difference, especially because my mom wasn't that like when she was born, my grandma hadn't been living here very long,
Yeah.
so it was like already like with her brothers being older than her, she kind of just had this natural like disconnect from the language as much as her siblings did.
Mm. And your mom's siblings, did they were they born in Croatia or the US?
My mom's oldest brother was, but my mom has 5 brothers, so
Yeah.
she's the only girl in her family. And so
Okay.
yeah, I know.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's probably why it was like so hard for her to
Yeah.
like identify with, being able to speak it because
Mm.
she wasn't really connected to it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot of brothers.
Yeah,
Five.
yeah, I know, right?
But my mom has actually more. Seven. So,
What? Oh my gosh, that's record breaking.
yeah, I think probably you don't have many people saying that their moms have more brothers than your mom. But yeah, my mom
Yeah, I
has.
know. Usually I don't.
Uh,
I don't have anybody saying that.
yeah, my mom has seven brothers and four sisters.
Wow. Okay, that's I don't even know what to say to that. That's awesome though.
Yeah. It's actually because here in Finland there's this small branch of Christianity called Lestadianism. It's actually
Mm,
only in the Nordic countries. So the Lutheran Church is the biggest here in the Nordic countries in I think Germany, but also in Nordic countries like Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland.
yeah.
And inside the Lutheran Church, there are some small sub branches like this Lestadian Church, and they prohibit all contraception. So my grandparents are actually Lestadians, and yeah, they.
Huh, that's an interesting
So that's
like
why,
belief.
yeah, they don't use any contraceptives, and the families of this faith are usually quite big.
Mm, that makes sense, but I wonder why that is. I mean, like what there must be some reason as to why that is prohibited for some reason. That's a very interesting belief system.
I think the reason is because I think they thought sex for fun. I mean,
Just
that's
wasn't like
that.
it's just not
I think they thought that sex should be only about like procreation and something like this.
okay. Yeah, no, that makes more sense now because I didn't first because I would think that it would be more socially and I guess economically responsible to do that. But I mean, if you're really just trying to accept your religion, I guess that to the most purest degree, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, socially, not anymore in my mom's generation. My mom is quite young. She's 53. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So in Finland, it wasn't the case anymore. Maybe my grandmas and I mean, grandparents and great grandparents generation, it was like better to get a lot of children who would work in the farms and like that.
Yeah.
But after the Second World War, Finland hasn't been that agrarian society as before. So
Okay. That makes sense.
yeah. Anyways, so you were you in a lot? Were you in contact with your grandma a lot when you were a child?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, we'd visit her a lot because she used to live in Ohio, so when we'd go and visit her, it was quite a trip because we'd have to go from the West Coast over to, the mid East. And so it was like kind of a hard travel to go. But whenever we would, I would remember talking to her a lot about, what was it like growing up
Mm,
in this place or what like
yeah,
I'd ask her so many questions about it. And like I didn't ever get to see her that often. So for me, it was a really special time to, ask her a ton of questions. And
yeah,
that was probably, the beginning of me, starting to learn the language because my grandma would teach me words, like some of the fewest words, like even when I was 4, learning like English, like with my parents, it was like I was learning already like girl, boy. Like I already knew how to say all the farm animal names in
yeah,
Croatian just from visiting my grandparents because I paid
yeah,
attention.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Can
But
you,
yeah, it was
yeah,
oh,
can you
sorry.
name a few examples, like what comes into your mind in Croatian, like the early words you knew in Croatian?
So Pile is probably the most notorious example because there was this song my grandma used to sing and it was like about I can't remember the song, but
Mm,
it's like Pile 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 Rzadku Zamen Dole. It's like chicken 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 making broth for the stew and something I can't remember, but
yeah,
it's pile. It
mm,
was the first Croatian word I ever learned, and it means
yeah,
chicken. And then piletka is like a rooster. So like or pietao, I guess if you because Croatian's weird because there's so many regional dialects. Like my grandma's from Dubrovnik, so
mm,
like her accent is very Dalmatian, as they'd say, whereas in the north of Croatia, it's a lot more like Serbian, a lot more Slovenian influence. So it's not it like there are very large regional differences. So when I started learning Croatian and I
yeah.
would talk to other people who speak Croatian, they're like, "What are you like? What are you talking about?" Because the regional differences I didn't know about. So I tried my best, but I just never could really talk to anybody because I didn't know the standard language.
Mm, yeah. And Dalmatia, I know Dalmatian language is an extinct language.
It
Does
is,
it
yes.
refer to a region, Dalmatia in Croatia? And do you know if it maybe has some remnants from the extinct language of Dalmatian, or do you know
Yeah.
anything about this?
Absolutely. So I did some digging because I have this really good linguist friend, and he knows how to, like, etymology, like, is his thing. So I gave him a few words, and he speaks Croatian or Serbian too. And I gave him a set of words from Serbian, Croatian, Bosnian, and then I told him to compare them to, some of these diasporic terms that were used in Dalmatian. And he came to this conclusion that basically Dalmatian went extinct because of the, I guess, connection between all three of the Baltic Serbian languages, or Serbsko-Hrvatski, the
Hmm.
Serbia. So what is it? Serbo-Croatian. Sorry.
Yeah.
But and so Dalmatian used to be its own thing, and it used to be really big. It used to be bigger than any of the Slavic languages in the Balkans.
Oh wow.
And yeah, it was huge. And so what ended up happening was, the once the Slavic conquest of, like, Bulgaria came into the Balkans, and then the, Ottoman, like, what is it, conquering of the region, it started to create this weird atmosphere where people were uniting against, like, the forces that were conquering them, but they had to do it in a language that was united. And
Yeah.
Dalmatian, being like this really royal formal language that was only used, like, in certain city states, that kind of died out because there was a need for everybody in the region to unite against all these forces that were invading them. And so they kind of made this thing based off of Bulgarian, like the old Serbian language, and Dalmatian, and that's what ended up being the modern Croatian language of today. So
Mm.
there's a lot of weird words that you will see, like, what is it? Chichnica is like a brush, like a hairbrush, but
Yeah.
in Serbian, I believe it's chetka. So, but the in Bulgarian, it's the same, chetkica. But
Hmm.
it's weird because Bulgaria is not anywhere near Croatia,
Yeah.
but yet
Yeah.
it still has a huge influence on the language.
Yeah.
But it's a really interesting one. But Dalmatian, I think the easiest answer is, it kind of just, it died because there was no more time to use for formal stuff during wartime against the Ottoman Empire, the Turks, and the Bulgarians who were invading the country. So I think they just kind of just mixed everything together into one in order to make a really quick language to respond to all the invasions that were happening.
Mm. And that's how, like, Serbo-Croatian was like emerged,
Yeah.
or
Yes, basically, that's like the shorthand history of the
yeah.
Serbo-Croatian language.
Yeah, so maybe something similar what happened with maybe High German and Italian, when I mean they created these standards of like standard Italian and Hochdeutsch, the High German. Maybe something a bit similar.
Yeah, no, it's almost identical, except it's not talked about as much because
Yeah.
I don't think that like, people in these countries, like, especially Serbia. Serbia has a huge, I guess, international bias in how people perceive not only, like, the Balkans, especially because of the war that was going on in the 90s, but also the language. Because Serbian, being the biggest of all three of, or I guess all four of the Balkan languages that are Slavic, excluding Bulgarian, it's really hard for them to give, like, the international outlook for the whole language, when in fact it's very, very different from that of Bosnian and Croatian and even Slovene. Because I like all these regional differences, like in Croatia, Dalmatian, the example I just gave for that part of that history is specific to Dalmatia. It's not specific to Serbia or Bosnia, because each one of them have their own religions, and each one of them have their own histories, and, like, people having conquered them. But all three relate in the fact that they were ruled by the Turks, and that's what had them united against the Turkish people, and that's why they made one collective language. But it's all very different.
Yeah. Are you referring to, when you say three, are you referring to Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia?
Yes, yes, the
Yeah.
the the main three. I don't count Slovenia because their language is much more related to Slovak and Czech than it is to, like, Croatian. I can't understand Slovenes at all, even though
Mm.
like, they say they speak Serbo-Croatian when in fact they don't. It's more Slovak.
Yeah. Okay. I had the image that Slovene is quite different from like the Balkan, the Serbo-Croatian, and also Czech and Slovak. I had the image that it's like, and that Slovene has a lot of dialects, and inside the country, the varieties are quite maybe far from each other, like surprisingly
Yeah.
far, maybe.
Yeah, no, definitely, because Slovenia is a very mountainous country. So for them, being a Baltic country, especially, I mean, Bulgaria has this because Bulgaria, I mean, it's not that Bulgaria is a mountainous country. It's just very spread out and it's not very populated. And Slovenia is kind of the same way. So when you
Yeah.
have a mountainous country that isn't very populated, you have a lot of differences in regional dialects. And I think that's what separated after the Yugoslav Civil War. That's really what separated Slovenes
Mm,
from the rest of the Balkans was just, not really having a connection to all of the other three in the first place because of their location, kind of a weird spot in between, more northern Europe, like more
hmm.
central,
Yeah.
and more southern. So it's a very interesting place. And I went there last year with my mom when we visited Croatia, and it
Mm,
was just a very unique atmosphere because they don't consider themselves like they do consider themselves Balkan, but it's not very extreme. It's not like Croatians identifying to, being Balkan. It's way
yeah.
more of a looser identity. It's more of a very solid Slovene identity.
Mm. Where did you go in Slovenia?
Slovenia, I went to Ljubljana, and I went kind of to I went to
Bled?
Boligora, which is like the mountain closest to the Croatian border, and it's like I guess it's the tallest mountain in Croatia, because it shares the border with Slovenia. But it's a really cool hiking destination. So me and my mom went there and did that, and then we went to Zagreb and went across the coast from Split until Dubrovnik in the south.
Wow, that sounds great. How long did you travel?
It was around a month.
Yeah. And do you still have some relatives in Dubrovnik?
I wish we knew because my grandma never like she left because of the um what was going on during this like 60s with Tito and the whole communist government.
Oh,
So when she left, it was very, very hard for her to escape in the first place.
yeah,
So she didn't ever keep tabs with the family that she had left there. So we have no clue where our family is here
yeah.
or there, I guess.
You haven't made any DNA tests and found like matches,
Well, we have, but
or
it's not like we can't like they don't know that we exist. So in
yeah,
order for us to go and say, "Oh, hey, we're related to you, but we're from the
yeah,
United States," I feel
yeah.
like that'd be really, really weird unless we showed them some evidence that, they're related to us because my grandma was not very close to her family at all, and that's
Oh,
why
okay.
she left. So she was not very connected to her I like just family in the first place. So when she left, is very subtle and she just never really talked about it. And
Yeah,
so I feel like it'd be really hard to try to trace back, what was going on in the past.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What do you think about Montenegrin? Do you consider like Serbian a dialect of Serbian? Because that's what I've heard from some people.
Yeah, so Montenegrin is it's funny you bring it up because I don't consider Montenegro really a separate entity from Serbia. It's very much still attached to being Serbian, whether
Hmm.
it's politically or socially or linguistically, it is still like it's almost identical to the Serbian language.
Yeah.
And the main thing that makes that the like a defining aspect of the Montenegrin language is the fact that they use the Cyrillic script. If you didn't use the Cyrillic script, then it would be a lot more easier to say, "Oh, I'm not associated with the Orthodox, Serbian identity." But Montenegro very much shares that religious, social, political identity with Serbia. They're
Hmm.
very close, and so I think the only reason Montenegro exists is because of the whole I guess, conflict with Kosovo. If Kosovo would have never tried to, I guess, declare independence from Serbia, Montenegro wouldn't have either,
Mm.
because Montenegro is only split off from Croatia by a chain of mountains called the um Adora, like it's a very small mountain chain, but it
Yeah,
splits them apart pretty like far. So it's not like Serbia can just say, "Oh, we want to dominate this region over here on the coast because it's a lot easier to kind of, you know, like just get." But there's mountains there, so you can't really, they can't
yeah.
do it. And same with Kosovo. Kosovo is cut off by like just a bit of mountains to
Hmm.
the north of Serbia, so it's a bit hard for Montenegro to cooperate if they had been in a government together. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I don't know much about Montenegro. I just know that having like gone there last year, it was like a very Serbian type vibe.
Mm. Uh, Based on what I've heard this far, I think you also like history. And one funny thing came into my mind regarding Montenegro. I don't know if you have heard this, but was it 200 or 300 years ago? One guy, he pretended to be the Tsar of Russian Empire in Montenegro, and I think he reigned in Montenegro for I don't know, a few years, I think, before
Really?
people found out. I think it was something like this. I cannot remember it so clearly, but I can. This is one funny historical fact I remembered about Montenegro. I have to check.
What?
I have to check this later, but
Yeah.
I
No,
think it
that
was,
sounds.
yeah, something like this, something really crazy. Yeah,
Well, I've heard some. I mean, there has been a lot of crazy stuff go down in the Balkan countries that not many people know about. Like
yeah,
the what is it? A very famous art piece in La Louvre, the
yeah.
art museum in Paris. There is a very famous piece there that was, I guess, attained from Greece, but it was controlled by the British at the time. But somehow somebody stole it and took it to it was either Serbia or Croatia and gave it to the leader of either, I can't remember if it was old enough to have been kings or king. I think it was post monarchical Europe, but he gave it to this leader who is, like, oh my gosh, this art piece is like ancient, and so
Yeah.
he kept it for around 50 years before his I guess administration just disappeared, and they found it and they gave it to the French of all people because they have the biggest collection. So there's a piece, I can't remember what it's called either. It's
Yeah.
very famous. It's oh, no, it's not the Rosetta Stone because Rosetta Stone, it was in Egypt, but it's a very large linguistic relic. And
Yeah.
it was,
Okay.
yeah, it's huge, and it was just it happened to be in Romania or something crazy, and they just never knew until 50 years later, and they were like, "Where's this been for 50 years?"
I think I've heard something about this story, but I can't also remember clearly
Yeah, I can't
the
remember. I've
details.
heard like yeah, I think you know what I'm
Mm,
saying, but it's like I can't remember the
yeah.
exact specifics.
Yeah. I actually found the story here.
Oh,
So it's Stepan Mali, who lived between 1739 and 1773.
huh.
Translated as Stephen the Little, was the first and only Tsar of Montenegro, ruling the country as an absolute monarch from 1768 until his death. So 5 years. Of unclear origins, Stepan became the ruler of Montenegro through a rumor that he was in fact the deposed Russian Emperor Peter III, Peter the Third, who had died several years before Stepan surfaced in the Balkans.
That is that's ridiculous. That's actually ridiculous. And people fell for this? That's
Yeah, like yeah,
that's
for
absurd.
5 years he was the Tsar of Montenegro.
What? Honestly, that could I'm not making any assumptions here. This is purely a conspiracy, but I think that might have something to do with why Montenegro is its own place. Because like why on earth would you like I am from Russia. I'm the Tsar of Russia, but I'm in Montenegro.
Yeah, the deposed Tsar.
That's like that is the funniest thing I've heard in a while, I think. That's
Yeah, I think
funny.
they were just like, oh, okay, you're the deposed Tsar. Okay, you can rule our
Yeah,
country.
you can
Like,
rule. I just
yeah, I mean, yeah. I think I stumbled across upon this story when I went through the history of every country. Like before starting the blog, I actually read a book and then I wrote some notes. And after writing the notes, I fact checked everything on Wikipedia.
yeah.
So it took 1 year before I even started, and then it took I think 3 or 3.5 years to write blog posts about every country. Like it was like five facts and the timeline of every country. So
Wow.
so I spent a lot of time of reading Wikipedia sites and comparing my notes from the book uh, with the Wikipedia articles and just checking if the uh, years, the dates, and everything matched, or if there
Yeah.
were some mistakes. And I can remember this story really, really well because I thought that this was just incredible.
Yeah, that's insane. Well, that's it's really cool that you had the interest to because I love learning the history of countries, especially ones I don't know very much about, like Qatar or like Saudi Arabia. I don't even though they're like rather significant countries on the world
Mhm.
stage, I don't know anything about them. And so I think that's a really cool thing to do, but because you find stories like that and you're like,
Yeah.
what? Who would have guessed that this
Yeah.
happened? Like, what?
Yeah. I would recommend this book that actually sparked my interest, but it's in Finnish. It was the history of every country uh, by their flags. So they showed all the flags, and they
Oh,
talked about the changes in the history, in the like politics of the country through the
yeah,
change of flags. Because usually when you change the flag, something happens also in the government, or I
yeah,
mean, a country changes from a kingdom to a republic, or something like that.
yeah, something like that.
Uh, and yeah, it was really interesting. Now, when you mentioned, for example, guitar, I can remember that guitar, the flag, the stripes, like, or the pattern, like all
Yeah,
the the peaks, or how do you say that?
yeah.
They symbolize the seven, or I mean, I can't remember if Qatar or Bahrain had seven. One of them had seven, other one had nine of these.
I think, yeah, that sounds
Uh,
about right. I think Bahrain is eight. I
yeah,
think Bahrain is eight, but I don't know what Qatar is.
yeah, but they symbolize the ancient kingdoms, or the tribes, maybe the tribes of the
Yeah,
country, and all that sort of stuff. It was really interesting to
that
read
is really
about.
interesting.
Like after reading that book, when I see some flags, I always remember. Oh, okay, I can actually see the history in the flag. So
Yeah, that's really cool. What the heck? Wait, what?
yeah,
So this book's in Finnish, right?
yeah. I can link the book to you after this conversation. I
Yeah,
think there are no translations, but yeah, I'll send
it's all right. I've
the
been
link.
trying to learn Finnish anyways, but it's not an easy language to say the least. I mean, I can't find any resources on it. That's why I
Yeah,
got your notebook was because I was very interested in learning Finnish. So I
yeah,
got the Finnish notebook and I've been learning it and it's actually been helping me out a lot.
yeah. Oh, that's great. I think there's a lot of content in Finnish, especially in YouTube, like some,
Oh, really?
and in Instagram. There are a few like really big ones, b like big channels, uh,
Yeah.
where they teach Finnish. And actually, my friend, he also has a really good. He doesn't have a YouTube channel, but he has a Facebook page which has around 3-4 thousand people, and he teaches Finnish like physically in Finland. But during the COVID, he also had some online lessons. And actually, my wife, who's
Oh,
from Ukraine, Odessa, she started following my friend's channel, and actually, she found me through my friend's channel.
what? Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
and she actually suggested that she could translate and proofread the Russian and Ukrainian version of the notebook, the ultimate Russian notebook and the ultimate Ukrainian notebook. And I was at the time actually cycling across Finland, and I said, yeah, sure, you can. I'll pay you. You can do the job. And after that, we met, and well, in to summarize everything, we live now together here in Rovaniemi. But but yeah,
Wow,
uh,
that is a crazy story. What the heck?
yeah.
Wow.
So this his page is called Suomi Suju.
Suomi suyo. Okay.
I can also send the link after this to you. But
Yeah, of course.
yeah, he has good content, and also there are a few more who have like Instagram page accounts and YouTube.
Yeah.
But I think for Finnish, there's a lot of good content
Yeah.
available.
No, I agree, but it's just more of like being able to practice it because here in Boise, like there's no need to learn Finnish at all. Like even
Yeah,
like I can't even find people online who will practice with me in Finnish. So it's really hard to like to learn the language but not use it all because I want to it's such a beautiful language. I love the grammar and it's not even hard. It's just very different from
yeah,
what I'm used to. And so like that I feel the same way about Japanese in that sense that it's like very not it's not hard. It's just very different from many languages.
yeah. So there are not that many Finnish people in Idaho.
No, no, but hey, there are a very significant amount of Swedes here. Swedish people and Norwegians are very prevalent in this area because
Yeah,
of the nature. Like the nature is what draws a lot of Nordic people over here. But I have never heard of any Finnish people in Boise. Or to my knowledge, at least. I mean, there might be a few, but not like a huge community like there are Swedish and Norwegians.
yeah. I think you have to go to Minnesota to find more.
Yeah, Minnesota has a huge population of Finnish people. It's actually kind of crazy. Like I watched this thing and it's like so Minnesota is a very diverse state. I don't know if you knew this, but Minnesota is the only state in the country with a higher population of immigrants than there are actual like Americans
Oh
in the
wow.
state. Yeah, it's
The only
insane. And
state.
so you it's the only state, like,
Yeah,
and you would think though, right? Because Texas is a huge agricultural giant in the workforce, but Minnesota, the reason people go there is not because it's very complex, but basically it's a very flat place and it's close to a lot of major cities. So if you live in Minnesota, it's really easy to get to other big cities with really low housing costs. So you can live in
mm,
Minnesota, go to work in St. Louis, but you can still come back and your housing is like super cheap. So like
yeah,
that's why people decide to live there. And so there is a huge population of people that move there from different countries because of how cheap it is.
yeah, yeah. My Finnish aunt actually has been an au pair in Minnesota.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
Do you know where in Minnesota?
I can't remember the city, but
Ah,
yeah, she found her husband there. So
wow.
so yeah. So my her husband is Mexican, so I have also like three Mexican Finnish cousins. And
Ooh, that is a very interesting combination. I mean, what's your
yeah,
so I have a question for you.
yeah.
What's your experience with the Spanish language?
So I started learning Spanish in high school. I was 17 years old, and I had a Chilean exchange student in my high school, and we
Mm,
practiced a lot. Actually, Roberto was my one of my guests in the podcast. We made
Really?
an episode in Spanish. Yeah, we talked about the times we met and his language journey and
Wow. Oh
everything.
my, that's
So
wild.
so yeah, for me Spanish was quite easy, I think.
Mm.
But yeah, and in comparison with Italian, I think the
Oh
articles
yeah.
and everything is much easier than
Yeah.
Italian.
I definitely agree. Like Italian is really it's the articles really mess me up. Like I can't like it's easier than I guess it's easier than French because the pronunciation and the reading just is really hard for me, but
Yeah,
the the way the grammar just seems so like hard for no reason. Like I don't like really get it. But and there's a lot of stuff about Italian that just makes it really weird. Like it's the only country, I guess, Romance language wise, besides Romania, that has like no diaspora anywhere else in the world besides Italy. So it's
mm,
really because Portugal, Brazil, Angola, Portugal, and you have all these variations in Spanish, but Italian is very limited. It's not like you have, well, I mean, I won't say that because, you have the region of Tyrol and you have all this crazy mixtures of regional dialects. Like Italian is a bit more crazy than I give it credit for, but yeah, I definitely agree. Spanish is so much easier than a lot of people put it out to be.
yeah. What about your experience? When did you start learning Spanish?
So I didn't start learning Spanish until just like relatively a short time ago. I started around 2 years ago, but it was when I was like like beginning of high school, so I wasn't very committed to it.
Mhm.
So I kind of just took it, and I was like learning other languages at the time too. So I was focusing more on those. But recently, I've been in this college level Spanish class, and I've been really having to study my butt off for it, and so my learning Spanish for me has become a lot more serious. But before I kind of just took it as like, it's just another language that I will learn in the future. And it wasn't really important to me until I realized how little I knew.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Uh, yeah, let's go back a bit to Finnish.
Yeah,
So you mentioned you tried to find people online with whom you could practice Finnish. What,
yeah.
which website did you try? Hello Talk, Tandem, or which ones?
So I try to start with Omegle, and I know that's a weird place to go, but I really do get a lot of people who speak like a ton of languages on Omegle. It's no joke. And
Yeah.
so I met this guy. You might know him for all I know, and his name's Kazumi. He's a Japanese polyglot.
Oh
He
yeah,
is
yeah.
absolutely insane. Like I have never met a individual who can speak more languages to such a high degree as he can. It is actually absurd. Like I don't even
Yeah,
I don't even know. I mean, that's he's on a whole new level. But I talked to him about Finnish because he knows Finnish pretty well, and he's like, yeah, being Japanese, it's really hard to talk in Finnish. But the
yeah,
best thing he told me to do with Finnish was find somebody who speaks Swedish or is from Sweden. And odds are, if they're from like a region near Finland, if not in Finland, who speak Swedish, odds are they're gonna speak Finnish. But I mean, that was just what he said. But I don't know much about I guess the connection between Swedish and Finnish and that whole region right there. Like I'm not very familiar with
yeah.
it. So when I talked to him about it, I was like, okay, I'll try to find some Swedes to talk to. And I know a ton of Swedish people, but none of them speak any Finnish. So once I kind of
So
discovered this, I was like,
so
man,
his
there's
advice was to try to find Swedish people from Sweden.
yeah, who speak Finnish. Yeah, but it's very hard to
That's
do.
a
Yeah.
quite weird advice because I don't think many Swedish people speak Finnish. We have in
Yeah.
fin we have in Finland like 5% of our population speaks Swedish as their mother tongue. They are
Yeah.
the Swedish Finn Swedes, yeah, Finn Swedes, I think. So, but they are in Finland. But yeah,
Mm.
they might speak I mean, the majority of them speak Finnish, and
Okay.
some of them are bilingual, like other parent speaks Swedish and other parent Finnish. But there are also a lot of communities where they don't speak Finnish that well.
Mm.
Even in
Oh, and it's
Even in
mostly
Finland.
Swedish. Okay, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. So, for example, in the Åland autonomous region,
Yeah.
they don't even need to learn Finnish in school.
Oh, because it's just, oh, that's really weird. I feel
Yeah,
like they would though.
I didn't know that myself either before going to Åland
Yeah.
last summer.
Huh.
So, because in all of Finland we have to learn Swedish. It's a mandatory subject, and
Really?
yeah, yeah, we all have
Oh,
to
wow.
learn it. But I like it. I like it. It's quite easy Swedish. So, I
Huh.
mean, it's not a problem for me, but it's a problem for many other people who feel like they've been forced to learn the
Yeah.
like colonial language or something. But for me, it's not a problem. But
I mean, I like Swedish. It's a very like soft sounding language compared to a lot of like I prefer much rather to learn Swedish than Russian. Russian would be so tough for a Finnish speaker. I can't even like it's really hard for an English speaker, but for a Finnish speaker like there's so many differences. It's like not even funny. Like
yeah,
oh my god.
yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
that's crazy. But yeah, what? I didn't know that they didn't even teach Finland in the Ålands province because I'm very like I know a lot about well
Yeah.
not a lot. I know quite a bit more than a lot of places in the Nordic countries
Hmm.
about Ålands province and the what is that place? The island north, but it's like not what is that place called? I can't remember. It's like an island chain off of it's I think it's owned by Norway or somebody can't remember, but I know a lot about
The
those islands too.
Svalbard.
Svalbard, yeah, I know a
Yeah.
lot about Svalbard as well because of the whole Russian, thing going on there with
Yeah.
but it just interests me, but I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why it's a bit weird that he gave you the advice of finding a Swede, because I think it's really rare to find from Sweden a Swedish native Swedish person who speaks Finnish.
Finnish, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I could get your input from it, being from Sweden. I mean, from being from Finland, because for me it sounded a bit weird too, because I was like, well, how am I unless I go to that part of Sweden or something? I mean, how am I gonna really practice that? And I've tried with italki, and it's just like I don't get like it's hard because especially my age, people don't really take me seriously when I'm learning a language because they just think I'm like a beginner in a lot of the languages I speak when in
Yeah.
fact I have a lot of potential to like
Yeah.
speak and I'm very motivated too.
Yeah.
So a lot of people meet me and they're like, "You're trying to study this language?" And I'm like, "I yeah,
Really?
because I love it." But people don't ever
Yeah.
take me seriously, and so that's one thing I think a lot of people, and it makes me feel uncomfortable too because I try to
Yeah.
be open about learning languages with other people, and they're like, "I don't believe you." Like they just think I'm being weird about it. And so Finnish people, I think, have that perception, especially me being young and not being from Finland. Like I try to talk to them about, learning Finnish and they're just very insecure about me wanting to learn it because of how uncomfortable they feel with me wanting to learn it. Because it's like, why would you of all people want to learn Finnish? Like
No,
it's weird to them.
I think it's just that for everyone. I think they might just think, why would anyone learn Finnish? I
Yeah,
think
why
it's
would
more.
anybody learn
I
Finnish?
think
Like
it's more about that. I think knowing the Finnish mentality, I think it's more about that. Like they are like,
okay.
why would anyone learn Finnish? So,
Yeah, it's a weird one, but like I really love the sound of the language. Like it's one that you can't I can't find it in any other like the vowel lengths or even the like it's so unique. It's so unique.
yeah, I think vowel length is something that also Japanese has. I mean, you have to uh, make sure it's if it's short vowel that it's not long, and I think it's a bit similar in Japanese.
Yeah. Yeah, no, very similar. Like it has like, and even the tone accentation, like even Finnish, because Finnish, I don't know a lot about the grammar. I have not studied it extensively, but I do know that certain words will change their stress depending on the context of, what the grammar is. Japanese kind of has the same, but it's for every word. It's limited to grammar. So like ike is like lake or pond, whereas like ike is like the imperative for like go and like go there, you like
Yeah.
it's a command. And I think that stress also occurs in Finnish, but it's more grammatically based than it is with Japanese, because Japanese just has every word has its own specified stress.
uh I think that's in Estonian they have something when it
Oh, Estonian. Okay, that sounds
affects
actually.
the grammar, like um let me think. For example, city is lin, and to the city is linna, and it's the same but different accent when you say the genitive of the city. Linna,
Oh, okay.
linna, linna, linna. There's a small
Oh, so yeah,
change.
that's
Linna,
what I'm talking
linna.
about. Like that distinction between the length and it's just the stress. Like
Yeah,
that's
it's in
cool. What?
Estonian. No, yeah, we don't have that in Finnish. It's in
Okay.
Estonian.
Estonian. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, that's okay. It's good to know because I listen to, I sometimes I'll listen to, news or something in Finnish trying to understand, like wrap my head around the pronunciation and the speed, but it's just like sometimes I get too deep in like how people stress words and the way like the double consonants, like the like double T or double N, those really get me because I'm not used to that stop right
yeah,
before I like pronounce another thing. Like I'm not used to that. So
yeah,
that's something that's also very interesting to me. But it's yeah, no,
yeah.
it's that's interesting. Estonian. I didn't know Finnish and Estonian were that related. That's interesting.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's like I would say Spanish and with Portuguese. It's a bit. I think it's it's a bit bigger. Maybe Italian and Spanish.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, I can see that. Okay.
yeah.
Huh.
But
Okay.
I would say Karelian is the closest language to Finnish, and then maybe they are like Ingrian and Veps. They might be somewhere in the middle, but
Okay.
Estonian is quite similar. But for Finnish people who don't speak Estonian or who haven't studied it, it's quite hard to understand anything.
Huh. Oh, that's cool though. I didn't like because Estonia being a Baltic country. I mean, Finland is also Baltic, but
No,
it's
no,
not
Finland
exactly
is not Baltic. It's
not
Nordic country.
Nordic.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Because it passes the Baltic Peninsula. Okay, that makes
yeah.
that duh. But that's weird. I would think that Estonia would be a lot more linguistically related to its neighbors, but I guess not. That's cool. I just learned something totally new.
Yeah, I think you already know Finnish, Estonian, and Hungarian are the like major Uralic languages in Europe.
I didn't know Estonian was a part of it, but I did know Finnish was related to Hungarian in that respect. But I didn't know Estonian was a part of that. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And in Russia, there are a lot of small Uralic languages like
Yeah, I've
Komi,
studied those as
Mari,
well.
Udmurt. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I've because I I I don't because I always have been obsessed with why Russia's such a big place. Like, why does
yeah,
Russia have so much land? And then I went digging into all the people that live there that are ethnically, of that region. And it really, I was like, whoa, there's like, you have Chechens, you have, Turkic people, you have Uralics, you have Siberian people. Like, it
yeah,
is such a diverse country for it being so big. And I was like, oh my God. And, Russia's one of those unique linguistic places where it's dominated by this one huge language, but there's so many languages that are spoken
yeah,
at home. It's not even it's like it's insane. It's crazy.
yeah. I think also it's really interesting, and I want to have like guests from Russia, from all these different
Yeah, that'd be
communities.
fun.
I've had actually one ethnic Komi and Mari people person.
What? What?
Yeah.
That's cool. How did you even find those guys? What?
So the Mari person lives in Germany, and my first German episode, it was with my wife's Ukrainian childhood friend, and she knew
Okay.
this person who's an astrophysicist from Mariel Republic. He lives in Germany, so yeah, I got the contact from her, and the Gomi person I found from Twitter, and I just contacted him uh,
Wow.
in social media, and yeah, I will try to find also more from Russia, but I think I will have to make the some of those episodes in Russian, because I've found a lot of accounts on Instagram, like teaching, like all these accounts teaching some small Uralic languages like Moksha, Hanti, Mansi.
Yeah.
But they are, I saw the administrators or the creators of these accounts, they seem to be a bit older, and they
Okay.
write in Russian. So I thought that maybe I should ask my wife to contact in Russian, and then
Russian.
we could make the episodes in Russian, because I think that would be like easier for them.
Yeah, definitely. That's interesting though, because I can't like learning small Uralic because like especially with how many notebooks you've put it. I checked the other day on your website,
Yeah.
all the language you have so many now. It's insane. I was like, there's so many small languages on here that you can just, buy and learn. Like that is but it leads me back to, that's really cool that you connect to those people like that. That's nuts. I didn't know you had this many connections. That's insane.
Yeah, well, I've been just sending messages online for all the random people I find, and I mean maybe 10% answer, and then we make an episode and they talk about their culture and language and like that. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm very honored to be on. Thank you.
Yeah. Uh, Usually I ask something about my guests' language education in the city or the region where they have grown up. So in Boise,
Yeah.
how old were you when you started learning like foreign languages, or how, like, what options are there or were in your school at least? And
Yeah. So like because when I learned Croatian, it was at home, but in
yeah,
terms of foreign like language acquisition at school or something, the closest I've ever gotten to, a formal education in a language is French. And that's probably why I speak French the best besides my English is because I was formally trained in it from elementary school until now. Like I'm still taking French in high school.
yeah,
But and I hope to take it in university as well because I still don't speak it fluently, but it's definitely the language I speak the best.
yeah,
Um, but that and I've been taking German in school for 2 years, no, 3 years now. I've been taking Italian in school for 2 years now, and I've been taking Spanish in school for 2 years.
yeah,
So I've as of recently, I've really started to go into more, professional education because I've noticed studying on myself by myself in some of these languages just doesn't work. But most of them I'm taking right now are romance languages besides German. But I've never had a class for, let's say, Chinese or
hmm,
Korean or Hindi. Like for some of the languages I do speak, I've never had a language class for them, and I speak them much better than the ones I
yeah,
have in class. And yeah, so 4 languages is what I've been taught in school. And as far as, having an input for another language, Basque is also a huge language that I've learned living in Boise because Boise has a huge Basque population. And
Okay.
so, I don't, and it's weird. It's the weirdest thing too, because
Yeah.
outside of the Basque country, it is the largest diaspora of Basque people.
Oh,
And
wow.
down, yeah, it is
Yeah.
insane. You'd have to come here to see it, because you go downtown and there's this whole part of the city downtown district that's entirely dedicated to Basque like
Yeah.
people. And you walk down there and it's almost like Chinatown. You're walking down from Boise and you just enter Spain. Like you're basically in Spain because you are in the Basque country. It
Yeah.
is the coolest thing ever. And so Basque was a language I started learning with French, and I never got very far in it because it's a really hard language, but I was really into it, and the culture, like the people are just amazing. Like I love the Basque community. It's absurd. It's really cool.
You have to connect me with some of the Basque people who would want to like share their culture
Yeah.
and language. I would be happy to have
No,
someone
that'd be
from
awesome.
there.
I love to do that because I know a lot of people that would be really willing to talk about, their experience being growing up in Boise, as a Basque,
Yeah.
fully immersed in the Basque culture, but living in the United States in like a state so like far away
Yeah.
from their
Yeah.
home, like it's crazy. And so, yeah, no, I'd definitely love to connect you with some people who would be into doing that.
Yeah. How many of them speak Basque? I mean, they don't need to speak, but preferably, of course, they. It would be nice if they spoke Basque language
Yeah.
also, but do they usually speak the language or?
Oh yeah, big time. Like they use, I feel like especially the the newer generation are beginning to use Basque as like their language between each other. And I've noticed it in school, like high school, because my high school is really close to downtown. So we get a lot of the Basque, second, third generation Basques going to my high school, and they are all speaking in Basque. Like they have their own little
Okay.
groups. Yeah, it's crazy. Like they have their own groups, and trying to communicate to them without having a sense of like, Basque, like you have to speak Basque to talk to them to really get to know them. It's a
Yeah.
really weird kind of vibe because Basque is not a language that is very well spoken across the board at all. Like even in the
Yeah.
Basque country, people have a difficulty learning the language and speaking it with other people. A lot of the times people will just revert to Spanish or French to,
Mm,
have a conversation, but people are very, very dedicated to speaking Basque here. Like it's
mm,
no joke.
yeah. And how did you start learning Basque? Did you have a course or I missed that point?
Yeah, so I never had a course, but
Yeah.
every Saturday they have these Basque lessons that you can go to, and they're teaching a new thing every day, like or every week. And so I went there with my dad once, like it was just out of nowhere, completely random, and I saw that they were doing that, and I was like, man, they're teaching Basque like to a ton of people for free. I'm gonna go to this, but it wasn't very good education. It was mostly for like kids and adults who didn't know how to say anything. So like they were giving very brief like lessons on, how to say I'm going to this, or how to say I need something. Like they'd give you very short lessons every Saturday. And I ended up going for around a good year and a half, like studying the like grammar of the language. So I understand the
Yeah.
grammar of Basque very well. It's more the language itself that I'm completely unfamiliar with because I don't know any vocabulary.
Yeah. 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 And what were the languages you had at school?
I
French.
French, Italian, German, and Spanish.
Okay. On which grades?
So I've been taking French since I started school, and I've been taking German, Italian since the beginning of high school, and I've been studying Spanish just a bit longer. So probably the before high school. So like I guess let me let me try, let me try to think because I've been learning Spanish in school for what, four, 4 years. Okay, so before high school. So Italian, German in high school, Spanish before high school, and then French throughout all my school career.
Yeah. And is it common that you can learn, I mean, study French from first grade?
I mean, I wasn't very committed to it. I didn't want to speak French when I was in first grade, but I
Yeah,
was, my teacher was making me read and she was only speaking French. So I kind of was forced to learn.
yeah.
It's not like she was speaking English with me and trying to teach me that way. It was all in French. So it was a complete immersion.
Mm.
So I think
And
that also just helped propel my language learning in French because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to learn as much as I did
yeah,
younger
yeah.
because I just wouldn't have had the input.
And was that your decision or your parents or who decided that you should start learning French from starting from
My mom
first
was
grade?
very wanting my mom wanted me to learn a foreign language so bad because she felt bad that she didn't speak her language at home. So she
Yeah,
wanted me to speak a foreign language and she wanted me to speak specifically French because this is in her words too. It's the most loving sounding language. And she
yeah,
loves when I speak French too.
yeah,
Like she'll even call me sometimes and she'll be like, because she lives in Arizona now. So we're
yeah.
not like as close as we used to be. And she'll ask me, she'll be like, how's your French going? Like all the time. It is only my French. And I'll be like, oh, it's doing really good. And she
Yeah,
always wants to hear me speak French. It's honestly the best thing ever.
yeah. Were there any other options besides French, other languages?
Um, in elementary school, no, because my school was really small, and so I didn't have French was the only option. But as I got towards middle school, high school, Spanish opened up as an option for me. But like I said, I didn't take Spanish very seriously from the get go because I was still at the time I started learning languages like by myself. I was already like really deep into Chinese and a ton of hard languages, Arabic. Like I was already too distracted to learn Spanish. So by the time I came to learning Spanish in middle school, like towards the end, I was like, well, I don't know anything in Spanish. Like this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
crazy. And so it's taken me 4 years of Spanish to like finally understand like how to speak the language like proficiently enough to get by.
Mm. Ha-
But
at what
yeah, I
age
never
did?
had that many options.
Okay, okay. So just French on first grade, and in middle school, what options were there?
There was only Spanish and French, but for a while there was Japanese. It's just I was already studying it on my own and they only had the beginner course for it and I had far surpassed what was needed for me to like be in that class. So
Yeah.
I just felt like I didn't need to take it. So I ended up not taking it or Spanish. And so I kept taking only French until I started Spanish because I was like, okay, time to learn Spanish. And so I started learning Spanish. And then I got into high school. And in high school, there are a ton of languages to choose from. There is a beginner course for Arabic, which I took very briefly. I didn't take it very long because it was a hard class.
Yeah.
And then I dropped that and replaced it with German. Um, and German is really fun. My teacher is awesome. Like she's from Dusseldorf, very awesome lady. Probably like as far as a language teacher, she's probably the most like skilled I've ever met. Like she's taught me so much about how language works, a lot
Hmm.
more than how German works, it feels
Yeah.
like. But German and then there was Italian. There's also Chinese, but I never took Chinese because
Hmm.
my Chinese level has always been pretty good, so I haven't had the felt the need to take it as a professional class. And then
Yeah.
yeah, was it Spanish, Italian, German. Yeah. So then I'm taking all four of those languages right now in school, and um, it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard taking all four of those in school, but I got to do what I got to do to learn more languages.
Yeah. And simultaneously, in your free time, you also studied some of those languages by yourself, and uh, so you studied Arabic and Chinese.
Yes, very extensively. I could say my Arabic is better than my Chinese, arguably, but my Chinese is pretty good.
Yeah. Intermediate, or do you know the level like B1, B2,
Chinese. So it on the scale of
or
because like
HSK?
Yeah, HSK is the level you'd use because Chinese is one of those languages that in order to speak it fluently, you have to it's a national exam thing. It's
Yeah.
like it's standardized language because Italian, you can say you speak Italian fluently, but it's always a type of Italian you speak that you speak fluently.
Hmm.
Mandarin is completely different. There's this like a government mandated level for what you can speak, and that's what you have to know. And so I'd say HSK like 3.5 is probably where I'm at right now. Like I haven't studied in a while, so like it's not far from HSK 2, but it's still not like it's not nothing shabby.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's around the same as my my Chinese level. It's somewhere between HSK 3 and 4.
Yeah.
I went through the vocabulary on YouTube. Like they have really good videos about the vocabulary, like HSK one, all like including the all the vocabulary of HSK 1, 2, 3, and so forth. Uh,
Huh.
and they have also some like example phrases about every word. I think I'm currently in HSK 4 video, but I mean, I started
Wow.
2 years ago, and I've had a long. I haven't continued the HSK 4 video in a long time because my plan was to add all the vocabulary from HSK 1 to uh, at least to 5,
At
not
least a
not
5, yeah.
6, but at least to 5 to the Ultimate Chinese Notebook, because the first version I wasn't happy with it was too messy. So I wanted
Yeah.
to collect all the vocabulary from the HSK 1 to 5 levels and add them besides what I've already got now. But
Yeah.
I've been so busy lately, so I have to continue that. But I think HSK 3 was, yeah, quite easy. So I think, yeah, definitely my level is somewhere between 3 and 4.
Yeah, no, I because it's hard to really unless you speak Chinese a lot, it's really hard to get past that, barrier because you start to forget characters and you start to forget a lot really, really quickly. Then that's what I found learning characters is I tried to learn, HSK 4, 5, even 6 characters that were so beyond my level, like
Yeah.
because I don't speak Chinese that often, I
Mm,
just would lose it instantly as soon as I
yeah.
tried to learn it. It's just like but yeah, so I have the ultimate language, and the one for Chinese is unique because I feel like it's the only one that is like it just feels different to me, like than all the other ones. Like Russian and French, like they're pretty similar in their layout, but Chinese is almost a completely different layout for the notebook itself. And so I
Yes.
thought it was like it's the only one I own that is like somewhat different from the others. But I
So
definitely am not saying that it's
the ultimate Chinese Notebook, like
yeah, the ultimate
not
Chinese.
the fill in the blanks. Okay, so the, yeah,
Yeah,
because
the ultimate Chinese notebook is just a lot different from the other ultimate language notebooks. Uh but I don't think in any way that it was too sloppy because
Mhm.
I've studied the Chinese one the most,
Yeah.
and it's definitely like not sloppy at all. A lot of it is very well done and well correct, and I've had well, I haven't had somebody do it, but there was this Chinese exchange student last year when I was just studying in class, and he was like, "You have a Chinese notebook?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he looked at it like very briefly, and he's like, "This is like actually pretty legit for it being like a foreign language notebook. Usually the Chinese notebooks are very like rigid and they're like
Mhm.
word to word translation, but that the ultimate language Chinese notebook is not like word to word translation. It's very native, like very what I guess very accurate.
Okay, that's good to hear. I
Yeah.
hired my friend who's a Finn to translate it, but she paid someone who's a native Chinese speaker to proofread.
Yeah.
So there are
Okay.
two
So
people who have gone through all the content.
Okay.
So I mean, my Chinese level isn't that high, so that I could say anything about it. So
Yeah.
I've been just hoping that it's good enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, my friend who's a Finn, she has lived in China, and her level is quite good. And she then, after translating everything, she just paid someone else to proofread it. A professional, I think he was a professional Chinese translator, and yeah, that's how we created it. But now when I've gone through the the ultimate Chinese notebook, I've in the end, I would restructure it a bit. It's like the chapters beyond chapter number 60, maybe 64 or 5, somewhere there. It's a bit, I would do it a bit differently, but actually the ultimate Chinese one, ultimate Chinese notebook was my first product of this other product line. So
Oh, really? Okay, so that's why
that
the layout
that
is just a
yeah
bit
yeah yeah
different.
yeah, and I then after that used that as a template for the newer ones. But
Okay. Yeah, okay,
so
that
but
makes a lot more sense.
yeah, but every time I've made new ones with my wife, I've corrected something, like made it a bit better
Yeah.
in some ways. And now when I have my ultimate Chinese notebook, the first version here, and when I watch it, I'm like, okay, I have to make it better. So I want to add the missing. I mean, it has the majority of the words in HSK 1 to 4, the ones I've gone
Mm,
through, but there I've
yeah.
I've then written in the book the ones that are missing, and yeah, I just have to go through the HSK 4 and 5 still, and then put the time and effort to make the updated version.
Yeah.
But I'm actually a bit more concentrated now on creating the fill in the blanks notebooks,
Yeah.
uh, because I think that that might have more like potential of getting revenue. I want to create
Yeah.
both, so uh, maybe I should now explain to the viewers what we are talking about, because I think they don't know. So what
Yeah.
I've been talking with Ryan here is the first notebook that I created is the Ultimate Language Notebook,
Oh.
and it's basically a better version to a blank notebook. So I've got here like 68 different chapters, and the left page has like the most important phrases and words already in English, and you just fill in the blanks and write the translation in your target language. And now I've got like 500 different cover options for the English version. So the content is the same, but I've got a cover if you're learning like Japanese or Finnish or yeah, or whatever language. I've got 500. And the other notebook we were talking is like ultimate Chinese notebook, ultimate something. That one has all the content from one language to the other language, like all the left pages. For example, the ultimate Chinese notebook has everything from English to Chinese, and only the right page is empty. And yeah, so currently I've got for 5 different languages this ultimate, this fill in, let's say fill in the blanks notebook, the one that you
Mm.
fill. So currently we are working on the Russian version with my wife, and she's going to create the Ukrainian one also. So she's
Ooh.
gone through the translations, and now I just have to order, like order and design,
Put
like
the notebooks together to do it.
yeah, because they are not ordered the words now, so I have to order the words,
Oh,
like
okay, I see what you mean.
the verbs and nouns and all that, because when I use the template, the English one, as a template. So when you have a list of verbs, and they are alphabetically ordered.
Oh, ordered, and you have to redo the whole. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
and
That
when you translate, you of course you have to order them. But I mean, in design, in the program I use, it's easy, but it still takes time to go
yeah, it
everything
still takes
through.
time.
Yeah, but so I'm creating new versions for the speakers of like Russian, Ukrainian, and also like I'm going to create the Chinese and Japanese, and like versions for all the major languages, and also creating the different cover versions. Like I try to create at least 100, maybe 100 to 200 covers, depending
Yeah,
on the language. For example, the Spanish version of that notebook, uh, the fill in the blanks notebook. I've got 160 or 70, but I've got more languages from Mexico, Central America, and South America. I might not even have the covers for those languages in English, for the English fill in the blanks notebook, because I
yeah,
think if you're a Spanish speaker and you don't want to get the fill in the blanks notebook in English, you want to, I mean, if your English isn't good enough, then you
yeah,
get the Spanish version, and then you can, if you're learning Nahuatl or Mixteco,
yeah.
Mixe, or whatever language in Mexico or Guatemala or somewhere there, I've got like the cover for that. So
Yeah, and that is the coolest part. I saw that you added that when I looked back, and I was like completely blown away because there's so many new covers. I was like, "Oh my gosh," because I think
yeah.
out of all the customers, I have the most fill in the blank notebooks. Because here, let me show you because I have so okay, let me see. So I have Kazakh, I have Slovak, I have
Can you show them?
Swahili.
I haven't seen most of those, even myself.
Oh, really? Okay, here, let me show you.
Yeah,
So here, let me change the camera. So there's Slovak, Kazakh. So Kazakh is my favorite. I love the
yeah.
pattern design for this. It is the best.
I like it
Oh
a
my
lot
gosh.
too. Yeah, I like to design it a lot.
Yeah, it is sick. And I also have Swahili, French, of course. What else? Czech. I have Russian. Oh God, there's even more underneath this pile. I have the Ultimate Language Notebook, the OG one. I have Persian, um, Norwegian,
Wow.
Hebrew, and this is just like the beginning. This isn't even all. Then I
Yeah.
have German and Italian, and then wait a sec, and then over here on my bookshelf, I have even more. I have oh God, okay, let's see. I have Polish, Romanian, Greek, Slovene, Catalan, Dutch, uh, Esperanto, Bengali, Arabic, Urdu, Indonesian, Chinese, Japanese, Tagalog, Filipino. Oh God, what's this one? Korean, Vietnamese, Hindi, Hungarian, Estonian, Basque, Finnish, like Turkish and Bulgarian.
Can you show the Catalan? I want to see if it's not too messy, because the Catalan was a bit hard to. I mean, there are some flags that are a bit hard, a bit tricky to design. Or okay, it's okay. Yeah,
I very much like it.
yeah.
I feel like the one thing that is missing though is the star of Catalonia. Like that's the
Oh,
only
yeah,
real part, but other than that, I really like the design of this one.
yeah. Yeah. Every now and then I update some of the covers, but Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love the designs of the notebooks. That's probably why I get the most of them because they're just like, why would I get a regular looking notebook for all these languages when I can get one that looks the part of the language and has every vocabulary? Like, I can just fill it in however I need to.
Yeah, that's exactly what my intent was. And 2018, I actually I tried to find something like this because I had already more than 50, no, more than 10 foreign languages that I had been studying for a long time or had just started.
Mm.
And I just wanted to structure and organize the mess in my head.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I've,
that's exactly how I felt. Like I couldn't find anything that would, organize my thoughts out on paper enough to like give me a sense of like this is what I know in this language. And it's so organized with these notebooks. And I can't believe I found like that you made this because I was about to make something similar myself because I just
yeah,
couldn't believe that
yeah,
nothing like this existed because it's such a good idea. I never like
yeah.
it never dawned on me until I saw it. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is genius."
How did you find it?
So okay, it's funny you ask because I was Googling, I was doing so much research. I was like, come on, this has got to exist. At least like a
Yeah,
flag notebook has got to
yeah,
exist for like certain languages.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
I search up like language notebooks and this image pops up on Google Images and it says ultimate language notebook and I was like, I'm clicking on this. And it was on
yeah,
Amazon at the time, before you switched over to the website. And I was like, whoa, what? And so I clicked on the on your Amazon tag and
yeah,
I saw that you had, ultimate Chinese notebook, ultimate French notebook. I was like, what is happening? This is
yeah,
insane. And so I bought the Chinese one first because it was the first one you had. And I was like, I was completely blown away by how organized it was.
yeah,
And so I was like, I gotta buy as many as I can. So I bought all of the ones except I still don't have the Ukrainian one, which is kind of sad because I have been learning Ukrainian with this one foreign exchange student. Well, not even foreign exchange student. I think she moved here because of the war,
yeah,
but she doesn't speak any English. She only speaks Ukrainian. So I've been trying to like help work with her English because she's not great, but I don't know any Ukrainian, and it would help me a lot if I had
yeah,
that notebook to help study with it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I just and that's how I found it. And I was just like completely blown away. I was like, is this guy? Like, who is making these? And I was like, I don't know, because I don't get a chance to meet other people who speak a ton of languages and have the same problems as I do. Like, where
Yeah.
do I find resources to help learn all this? And so, after getting all of your notebooks, my language learning has just exponentially gotten
Mm.
way beyond what I ever thought it could. So thank you for this because it's like I never would have gone to the lengths I would have to learn
Yeah,
languages if it wasn't for these notebooks.
that's great to hear that they have been useful for someone else than me or my wife.
No, they are I use them every single day. Like I use all of it is the only like resource I use to like practice vocabulary. Like it is the most helpful for me to learn.
Yeah. And you said you don't have the ultimate Ukrainian version. Ultimate.
I don't have the ultimate Ukrainian version, and I don't think there might be one now, but last time I checked, there wasn't a fill in the blank one for Ukrainian, and I was gonna get that one instead because that I feel like would benefit me more in the long run. But no, I don't. It's the only like major language I don't have.
Look, Ryan, it's going to be a gift from us, me and my wife. I'll send it to
What?
you. Yeah.
Really?
Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer to have the fill in the blanks? I can also, if you want to, if you prefer the fill in the blanks notebook, and I can also send the like PDF of the ultimate Ukrainian notebook, so you can have the answers if you want. I mean, what do you prefer? Do you want to?
That actually sounds so cool. If you could send me the PDF and the fill in, that would be so helpful. Actually, that would be awesome. I would be forever grateful for you doing that. That would be awesome.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, you're our best customer. I mean, I mean, I remember last year, and this year also when you made the other big order, I told my wife, "Oh my God, this crazy teenager from the US, he bought like 13 notebooks at once." So yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I was very obsessed. I could not because it was the only once I figured out how effective they were for like just starting out in a language, I could not believe how easy it was to start in the notebook and then kind of gradually move towards the internet and books and because it's a great starting place is just the ultimate language notebook. It's a great starting place. Like I can't say anything better. Like it's just it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, my idea wasn't to replace any resource, but my goal was to create something that's much better than a blank notebook, because
Yeah.
some blank notebooks which have like fancy covers but nothing inside, they might be like $20 or euros. I mean, they
And they
might
don't
be
really
much.
help out with the process.
Yeah, and I can remember when I tried to survive without any tool, which is like the ultimate language notebook. I tried to create a pattern how I structure my blank notebooks, but I tried a few. I think I went and bought like 3 or 4 blank notebooks for maybe Hindi, Turkish, Arabic, something else. And I
Yeah.
tried a few pages, but then I gave up because I thought that, yeah, I cannot do this in every language, like in more than 10 languages. And I didn't know at the time, like what vocabulary should I include after a few pages. So,
Yeah.
so that's actually, it took half a year before I started creating the a book, because I was lazy. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll find something like that. Then I went
Yeah, and then you
to,
never did and it was just like, well, I guess I'll have to
yeah,
make something like
but
this.
then one trip to Canary Islands changed that. So I found a last minute deal, 25 euros from Finland to Canary Islands and back, a flight ticket.
Wait, what for 25
Yeah,
euros? Wait, what
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
hell? Wait, hold on. Where did
It,
you
it was a last minute deal. So it was the next day. And this was in midnight. It was 12
Oh
o'clock.
my God.
And I saw this and I was, okay, I'm going. And I went upstairs and said to my father, hey, can I borrow your camera? I'm going to Canary Islands tomorrow. And he was, okay, here. And yeah, so I left to Canary Islands. I was a week. Uh, I think it was a week, 7 or 8 days in Canary Islands. I
What?
rented a car. I just went around the island and enjoyed my stay there. And
Wow.
in the end, I got somewhere the motivation, and I thought that, okay, now I have to get back home, and create the notebook I had designed. I mean, the notebook that I had been thinking about before. So
Yeah.
I thought that, okay, now it's time to learn how to use InDesign, Adobe InDesign, and just do it. So when I got back, I think I worked from the morning until the evening for 5 weeks, because I mean
Oh my God.
I had to decide which chapters, which topics to include, and I wanted to
Yeah.
have all the topics. Like, I didn't want it to be too like superficial. I wanted it to include also like much more complicated topics, like
Yeah.
politics, history, because I thought that if I learn words, I want the words to have one chapter, like in the book where I can fit it,
Yeah.
like where I
I
can
see what you
fit
mean.
any word that learned. And I thought that I want to get to such a high level in different languages that I could speak about anything. And I want to
Yeah.
create a notebook that helps me achieving this goal. So I started by Googling like word lists in like Spanish, French, Italian, like the top 100 verbs, top 100 adjectives, and I compiled lists. Like many of them had the same words. I just checked out which like if it was a list of 100 verbs, like which verbs the French or Italian blog article lists had that the other ones didn't. And I compiled the lists, and then I started like dividing the vocabulary under different topics. And yeah, it was really hard, but I had this friend who also consulted me a bit. I asked some advice, but it was mostly myself working on this and sometimes asking, hey, what do you think about this? And just putting the most important phrases and then words. And little by little, after 5 weeks, it was ready. And I think the first version was already quite good, but it's definitely much better now. But I'm still satisfied with the first version, which I created. But yeah, I was really happy when I I created it, and I found the German uh, publisher, Books on Demand, but it was a bit hard. I had to always pay 60, 60, 70 euros so that they publish it. And
Oh, that's weird. So you have to pay for every notebook's publishment.
yeah, yeah, so it cost a lot to create the after that the ultimate versions with
Yeah.
uh and I also had to pay the translators and proofreaders because I also wanted to have two people always to check the
Yeah.
vocabulary. And then the next step was I mean, from Books on Demand they went to Amazon as well, but I found
Mm,
out a few, I think it was last year when I found out that I could just create an Amazon KDP profile, and without any payments or fees,
yeah.
I could just publish as many for free. So
Mm,
that's when I started publishing the Ultimate Language Notebook with different covers, because before that I had
okay.
only this one, um, only this cover. So,
Yeah.
but I I thought that it's okay to publish these books which have the same content but different covers. But obviously, Amazon has a policy that I mean, they categorize different books into low content and high content. But this is
Huh.
actually intermediate content, but they had only checker boxes for low content and high content. High content
Okay.
is like all the books like Harry Potter, or like all the
Yeah, like huge like books with yeah, okay, that makes
with a
sense.
lot of text. But and low content, these books are mainly like notebooks and journals and diaries. So I thought this would be a low content, but obviously it was not. It was an intermediate content, and
Yeah.
I got some alerts on my profile, and for the first time, I during the first time that happened, I got my profile back. But the second time that happened, I lost my profile. And
Yeah.
if you lose your profile, if it gets blocked by Amazon, you cannot get it back ever. And you can't create a new account on Amazon. If they find out it's you, it, from the email or bank account, or if you even use another bank account or email and they find out it's you, they will block it. So I was like, oh my god, because the sales started going quite well,
Yeah.
much better. Uh, so I was excited to see how sales increased every month a bit. But
Yeah.
then I lost my whole account and I was like so depressed and I was like, oh my god. And
Yeah.
then I thought that okay, maybe it was good because I couldn't have added more notebooks with which have the same content but different cover. So
Yeah.
I was forced to create the homepage for my own home. I mean, I had already a homepage before, but I couldn't. The printing and ordering wasn't automated on Vix, but the
Oh, so
new
you
one,
would
you
all
know,
have to do it manually.
I and I mean I didn't do it because I don't have a warehouse. I don't have
Oh,
a printer. I cannot do that
yeah.
on my own. So I had to
Mm,
create a new shop, online shop with Shopify, and they had
okay.
uh, an API with Lulu Press, which is the publisher. So a
Okay.
plugin that I could integrate Lulu Press and Shopify. So when someone buys on Shopify, Lulu Press prints and delivers the books. But that was quite hard to set up. And now that I don't have Amazon's huge marketing money behind me, I mean, the sales have been much worse than it was during when I was in Amazon. But yeah, at least now I have total control over my own content, and
Yeah.
I can add as many notebooks I want, and I can decide about everything. And we're actually adding maybe some board games in the future. And
What?
I also started a month ago my computer science studies just because I wanted to create also some applications because I've got some ideas. So I started the school because I want to like get to the next level. And yeah, so
What?
I'll definitely contact you when we need some people to test the applications or whatever. And
Yeah.
I got an idea about the your Finnish practice. Maybe I mean we could do a language tandem together. I think I had the idea of. Do you have the Finnish fill in the blanks notebook?
Yeah, I do. Here, it's right here.
We could, yeah. I have wanted to create content where I go through um, stuff with my wife, or I could actually do this in Finnish with you.
Mm,
So maybe every now and then have like sessions where we go all the chapters one by one, and maybe before the lesson I give you the answers to the so you can write already the answers, so it wouldn't take that much time when we record
yeah.
these sessions. But I think we could go through the chapters like one video per chapter.
Yeah.
So I mean, I could show you could try how to pronounce. I could show how I, as a native, pronounce it. And after going through all that stuff, I could give you like some extra stuff that you could write on the empty page, and it could be a practice session or something like that that we share then
Yeah.
on maybe YouTube. And I want to do that also maybe in some other languages. I think I will do that in Russian with my wife because I want to improve my own Russian skills and
Yeah.
do maybe something similar with my wife in Russian. And
Mm.
maybe Ukrainian and some other languages. But I think this maybe would be something beneficial for both of us, and especially as you have so many of our notebooks, so it would be like really good to demonstrate how to use these notebooks as a learning resource or as a tool when someone teaches you. Like, I think maybe we can schedule like one session every week. I'm gonna be quite busy when we will have the child soon, and I will be also a safari guide here in Lapland, like Northern Lights safari. So I will
Oh,
in November, December until March, I will like work as a part-time worker every now and then in the evenings, and I will get to speak a lot of languages as well. That's why I took the job.
oh,
I,
that's awesome.
but I think we could try to have one session every week, and maybe besides Finnish, after like filming the learning session, we could maybe uh, learn a bit or practice French, because I want to like improve my French, because I want to make uh, the the podcast episodes in French.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Yeah.
and I'm my French is better than my Russian, but and I've made already one episode in Russian, but that was with my wife.
Yeah, and it
So
wasn't like yeah, you were much more comfortable with speaking it.
yeah, so I don't feel like having guests speaking in French if they are not my old friends. I invited one of my high school friends who lives in France, but she's a bit like shy in front of the camera. So she said it's too much for her now, and
Yeah.
I totally understand that. But
Mm,
with people I don't understand, I don't want to. I mean, be so unprofessional and speak that badly French. So I want to
yeah.
improve my French before making any episodes. So we could maybe do something like that.
Definitely. I'd be very, very much down to do any of those ideas because I feel like people don't I mean, not many people know that these notebooks exist. I feel like if it became a lot more, mainstream how to use this as a
Yeah,
tool rather than like, get it and because I would feel like some people would get these notebooks and feel very overwhelmed about the content in them. But like it's because you read through all these pages and you're like, wow, this is all I have to know in a language. This is a lot. When in fact, I mean, if you really break it down page by page, it's not a lot at all. It takes very little
yeah,
time to memorize a single page.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
And so,
yeah,
like, oh, sorry.
no, no, continue, continue.
Oh, and I don't know. I just feel like, and yeah, French. I think my French skills would get me through a whole podcast episode, but I don't think in a professional setting with a native speaker that I would get through because like there's a difference between talking to somebody in their native language and talking in a language that somebody knows because like it's a lot more difficult to connect on that level because like you really
Yeah,
have to know what you're talking about to really carry the conversation
yeah,
forward.
yeah. But it doesn't matter in our if we start practicing, because I've got a Finnish friend with whom I actually practice Chinese, Indonesian, and Estonian. So
Oh,
I mean, I mostly help him with Estonian. He helps me
yeah.
with Indonesian, but he's intermediate and I'm like lower intermediate. And we both don't speak Chinese that well. I think it's both uh, somewhere HSK 3 4, but
Yeah.
we speak and it's okay. So I think it doesn't matter if your French isn't perfect.
No, it really doesn't matter. It's really just like the social aspect of like, oh my gosh, like how am I gonna do like it's just the mind. It's the mentality that really is like because I can't tell you how many times I've, wanted to speak a language to somebody who I know speaks it, but I'm just really, insecure about my speaking abilities because I don't know what I'm capable of in that language and I don't know what they're capable of. So it's really just like a fear factor of, who knows what, like what's going on. Like, and when once you are revealed to that level, I feel like it's a lot easier to be on friendlier terms with that person and be like, yeah, really, like just understanding of their level and being very non-judgmental of it, because especially native speakers tend to have, French especially tend to have this idea that if you say you speak French, even not very well, that it's a very high level in their mind. And so like
Yeah.
that idea of, knowing to speak a language for a native speaker can sometimes be way under or way over what they expect. And so expectations really ruin, the ability to talk to somebody in a language, because you never know what you're going to get.
What kind of experience do you have yourself speaking the languages you've been studying with natives?
Um, okay, so like I mean I have the most experience with French because I've gone to France and I've stayed there very extensively. And I probably know the greatest amount of history from the French Empire and that region of just Europe in general. But as far as like native speakers is concerned, I've probably used Russian or German as like the most prevalent, like
Yeah.
talking to people who don't know English, because like in Central Europe and like Czech Republic, Slovakia, Slovenia, they tend to use German as a lingua franca there compared to their own languages. So if you don't speak English, or if you don't speak their language, you usually end up using German. And so when I was going to Europe last year, for a month, I was using German a lot, like like way more
Yeah.
than I thought I was going to be using it. And that's besides my French, I feel like I've used German the most in that, because I haven't traveled that much. I've only traveled to Europe twice.
Yeah.
Was to France and the other was to Croatia with my mom last year. And so I haven't had a great chance to use it with native speakers, but German was one I used, and Russian, simply out of the fact that, I meet a lot of people on Omegle from Eastern Europe and they tend not to speak English in another language like German or Spanish or something, and I end up using Russian as a lingua franca.
Mm, yeah. Do
But
you have?
like, oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, no. Go on if you had something.
Oh, well, I'm trying to think, because like Dutch as well, I've had very close contact to, because my dad's friends, a lot of his friends are Dutch because he works at
Hmm.
this tech company, and
Yeah.
all of his coworkers are Dutch. So, I picked up some Dutch, and I can speak it pretty much as well as my German, because they're so close. But
Yeah.
Dutch, Portuguese, because I have a lot of Brazilian friends. Um, and yeah, like I like with native speakers, that's what I use the most. But talking to people who know other languages, I use Chinese a lot to talk to other people who are learning languages, or Arabic, Hindi, like the big hitters. um yeah, those. But I native speakers, I don't have a chance to speak to native speakers very often.
Do you have any language events in Boise?
No, unfortunately, as much as I wish, because the closest one is the Polyglot convention in, I think last year they held it in, was it Toronto? And Toronto is relatively close to Boise, so it's not a far distance. It's just not, it's tedious because it's in Canada, it's in another country.
Mm,
It's just not really like I've tried to make my efforts to like, where can I find language communities outside of Boise, because there's not really any that exist here. I'm pretty much the only person in Boise who can, like, who does language stuff. Like I haven't met or heard of anybody who like learns languages like even more than three. Like the
yeah.
most people get up to in Boise is like two languages, and that's even crazy. Like if you
Yeah.
speak something other than English, I mean, you're up there. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, it can be pretty hard finding people here that speak another language.
Okay, so you don't have any language cafes like these events Okay.
No, but we do get a lot of exchange students here for how
Yeah.
small Boise is, and that's most of my input for languages is, talking to, students from all over the world that go to my school. But I'm not close with them or anything, so I'm
Yeah.
just having a brief conversation with them in like 2 or 3 minutes, and it's not a lot of practice, but it's enough to, practice, which is enough for me.
Yeah. 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 We have this language event called Cafe Lingua here in Finland, also here in Rovaniemi. I think it's not only Finland. I think it's an international concept. This Cafe Lingua.
Hmm.
I attended in Helsinki when I lived in the capital city area.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago, it was huge in Helsinki. They those events had maybe the maximum was maybe between 100 and 200 people. The whole cafe was, or it was a kind of a bar or cafe, I don't know. So
Yeah.
they had 2 floors and they have these tables and different flags. So there's a French table with the French flag and there's a Spanish.
Oh,
I think they had more than 10 languages usually. So usually I went from one table to another and I practiced a lot of languages, but at some point
wow.
they shifted from that cafe to another one and that one wasn't that good anymore. It was smaller and it was a different atmosphere.
Uh,
But now here, as we moved here just recently, we have attended now twice the local Cafe Lingua, which is actually it's by foot only 5 minutes, like towards the university.
wow.
It's really nice. It's not that big as the one I attended in Helsinki 10 years ago, but it's good.
Yeah.
It's okay. Uh, there have been I think around maybe around 10 languages during the last two events. So,
Nice.
for example, last time I saw the Swedish flag, I went there, spoke a little bit of Swedish, and then I saw the Irani flag, so I started speaking a bit Persian.
Yeah.
I didn't expect Persian to be there,
Yeah,
and
that's an odd one.
yeah, but the group was so good there. I was with my wife, and there was this Persian woman and the Finnish guy, and we got along so well that I just stayed there. But I didn't like shift from table to table like 10 years ago in Helsinki. I thought that okay, if I have found a good group, I will stick with the group and just
Yeah.
talk more. But next time I might maybe try Italian or Japanese. Let's see. But I think it's a really good way of meeting new people and other like-minded people. So I was surprised you don't have something like that in Idaho because I think here uh, I think it's not that it's common in European countries. I think Sweden also has these kinds of events, and I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure other countries in Europe as well have these.
Mm.
Maybe
Yeah,
you should
because I
maybe you should try to start organizing. I'm sure
yeah, no, I should.
yeah,
Because I there's not enough, like, I talk to people about, and they're like, "What? You speak so many languages, like, how do you?" And I just like they seem super interested in it, and I feel like if I could do something like that, like set up tables and have flags at each one, and try to have different groups speak to each other in these languages, that it would really benefit, the want to practice. Because a lot of times, especially in Boise, there are events for languages, but they're usually coordinated with one language and nothing else. And the most notorious example of this is the Basque one. There's a Basque language meeting that they usually have every other year. It doesn't happen very often, but when
yeah,
it does happen, it's huge. And one year, 2 years ago, I think I went there to just see what was going on. And you know, they have these huge it's pretty much lines, and you basically get in this line and you talk to somebody in Basque for like 2 minutes, and then you switch back you just switch to another person in line.
Yeah.
And I was very intimidated because all
Yeah.
these Basque people, they speak Basque fluently, and you're just
Yeah.
I don't know what I don't know what to do. And so, you know, it's very daunting in a situation like that where you're just like put in line and you're forced to speak this language. I don't think language has to be forced. I think it should
No.
come
Yeah.
naturally to you, and it should be just like, if you're not having a hard time remembering something, just like either take your time, or, you know, just say something else that just goes around it. Like, you don't have to think of that specific word and, you know, be stuck up on that. It's really just about expressing yourself, just being able to practice. Like, that's the most important part. And so that sounds like a great idea. I feel like I should start doing that and organizing and, you know, making a difference, because I've kind of been waiting for somebody else to do it,
Yeah.
when in reality I've kind of come to this conclusion that I don't think anybody will do it
I mean,
besides me.
if it's not you, who would it be?
Yeah, who would it be? Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for somebody to kind of one up my skills, but I don't think anybody can, and so I may as well use that to my advantage.
Yeah. I'm sure there are more people who would be interested in that kind of
Yeah.
like weekly relaxed. I mean, if it's not weekly, maybe monthly first or something. But I really
Yeah.
like it here that it's a weekly event, because then if I miss one week the event, I can go the next one,
Yeah, the
and
next
I
week,
know
and you're not
yeah,
stressed about it. Yeah.
yeah, and there are people who have different levels in different languages, and the barrier is really small to go somewhere and start speaking.
Yeah.
Um, like a few days ago, I was in a different event, not the language event, but I met
Mm,
a German guy who actually was in the same event, but we didn't know at the time each other, so
okay.
I didn't know he was there as well. He
Huh.
said he went to the Italian table. He doesn't speak Italian, but he went there and learned a lot about the Italian culture and language. So
Huh. Well, hey, I mean, you may as well. I mean, it for me, it's because I hate saying I speak a language when I don't, like, especially like I Hindi is a great example. I say I speak Hindi, but my Hindi level is very low. But I compared to anybody else I know, my Hindi is very high. So like, it's
yeah,
that relativity, you know, like for a native Hindi speaker, like obviously you speak Hindi fluently, but who else speaks Hindi besides native Hindi speakers? I don't know, not really anybody. And that's the same way I am with Finnish. Like, I
yeah,
don't speak Finnish, but I speak Finnish way better than anybody else like I've ever met. So like, it's except for a native speaker. Like, it's really hard to get to like how do I gauge like where I'm at with certain languages? Like French, it's easier because you can at least like what what do other people know rather relative to what I know? But with languages that are really hard to guess what level you're at, you just never know. And so it's really hard for me with some languages to be like, do I know this, or do I have the ability to speak this? Because sometimes I really just have no clue.
which languages do you want to learn the most currently, or like improve?
Ooh, currently, probably that's a hard one. Probably Urdu, Turkish, and Greek probably are my top three right now, because Urdu is like it's like if Persian was Hindi, and so I really like the fact that they use the Arabic script and not the Devangari script with Urdu. It's almost like a completely different Hindi to me. It's not like,
Yeah,
despite the languages being so similar, it really does feel different to me.
yeah.
And a lot of people say it's like it's identical, and it's like it's 80% lexical, and I'm like, no. Like, there's so many differences between Pakistan and India. Like, you can't assume that those two are the same. And so I've gone really deep into that. And Turkish I really like for its grammar and its sound. and not necessarily the culture. Turkey kind of weirds me out, like as a country. Like I don't really get why it exists. Maybe because I don't know a lot about it, but like
Yeah.
it just seems like a Muslim country that is like not like it's a republic and it's very open about its religious identity. Like for me, it's a bit odd having a Muslim country like that because no other place in the Arab world is like that at all. So it's
Yeah.
like it's a change and the language is a change and it's just it's interesting. It's an interesting place. And Greek probably because it's a classic. Like it's just I mean if you don't speak Greek, I mean what are you doing? I'm not saying if you don't speak Greek, what are you doing? But like I mean Latin, like a lot of people are like, "Oh, do you speak Latin or do you speak Greek?" And usually those are the ones I get asked to me if I speak. So I was like, I may as well study some Greek and, try to learn some. And Greek is the most successful I've been right now with all three of those languages. Just out of the fact that it's the alphabet is easier to read. Grammar is arguably easier than Urdu and Turkish, but like I don't know. But I guess the right now, like the language I want to learn the most is Indonesian because it is the by far the biggest language I haven't studied yet
Mm.
and it's just like it seems really easy like it just seems super simple to me like it's not there's not a high complex grammar system that you need to memorize. It's just very straightforward and simple.
There's actually a free online course for Indonesian people who want to learn Indonesian. It's
Huh.
it's organized by the Indonesian government. So they have first a placement test, and then they divide to BIPA 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
I'm currently in BIPA 3 course. My friend is in BIPA 4.
Nice.
So this is the first time I've attended this course, and anyone can attend their course. But yeah, I don't know what time it is when. Oh, actually, it's finish time 5 to 7 o'clock.
Okay.
So that might work for you, but it's I think they will start new courses next January. They have been
Okay.
organizing these for the past 3 years,
Hmm.
and yeah, it's my friend with whom I've practiced Estonian, Indonesian, and Chinese. He has attended the this course for the last few years. I mean, I think
Wow.
twice before this, and I've been now maybe on 2 or 3 lessons, and they're quite good. They also teach the culture, show some video clips, and then we talk about things in Indonesian. Because in BIPA
Oh,
3,
that's cool.
there are only 3 people, and we all can like speak enough not to use that much English. So it's
Yeah.
mainly, but BIPA 1 is for people who want to start from zero, and I think that might be a good option for you
Yeah.
next year when they start new courses again. And
Okay.
yeah, it's really interesting. I yeah, I knew something about Indonesia actually. Yeah, quite much because of my friend with whom I practice, and also because of our a few common Indonesian friends here in Finland. But still, there have been a lot of new cultural things during the first lesson, so I think this might be really interesting for you.
Yeah, no, that sounds very, especially if it's like provided by the Indonesian government. That's some I've never heard of like a country do that, like administer courses for their language before. That's really
Yeah,
cool though. I'll have to look into that. What is it called again?
uh, I can't remember. But I think the organizer here is the embassy of Finland and Estonia for Indonesia.
Okay,
but
I'll have to look into that then.
yeah, but they have
I'll hit you up later about it, and then we can talk about it after the podcast.
sure. Uh, but yeah, it doesn't matter where you are because they mostly have Finnish, and I don't know if they have anyone from Estonia, but yeah, mostly Finns. But they had, I can remember they had someone from Tajikistan and from some other country, but it's basically for anyone who finds the registration form. So yeah, let's talk about that later.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Which writing systems can you read or write?
Ooh, okay, give me a second because hiragana, katakana, kanji, I can all read. I can read Hansu. Well, like obviously to like a certain extent, but like
Yeah.
I can say I can read them. I
How
can
much?
read the
How
Greek
many?
alphabet. Oh, how many?
Hans.
How many Hansu? Oh, like a good three, 4,000, 5,000 maybe. I like
Yeah.
it's somewhere in between that range because I can read like a newspaper in Chinese, but it's very like there are certain like characters I will like read that are super important that I don't know, and so
Yeah.
I read it and I have no context, and so I just don't understand it, and that's the level I'm at right now, where I
Okay.
can
Yeah.
read like almost everything except the important parts that make me understand it.
Yeah.
And so like 4,000, 4 or 5,000, and with kanji, it's that number. That number's more like 1,000. Like I know 1,000 kanji. Like I know them.
Yeah.
And I probably have known close to 2,500 at one point because my Japanese last year was so good, but now I haven't studied it in a while. I've forgot a lot of kanji, so I can't say I know that much anymore, not knowing how much I know, but
Yeah.
yeah, I used to know that much. And then I can do the Greek alphabet as of lately, having practiced Greek. The Latin alphabet, of course, the Cyrillic alphabet, both um I guess the Bulgarian common script, because Bulgarian script for Cyrillic is very different from the natural Cyrillic in Russia and Serbia, Bulgaria. I mean, not Bulgaria. What else uses the Cyrillic script? I'm pretty sure it's just like, I guess, there's alternative versions of the Cyrillic script, like in Kazakhstan, like in Kazakhstan,
Yeah.
where they have the alternative script and it's in Cyrillic, but it's not the Cyrillic script, if you see what I mean. And Bulgaria has kind of the same way, except their Cyrillic alphabet is quite different from how you would usually use it, because like the lowercase d is actually the Latin G that they use for their writing, which is weird to me. I don't know why they do that, but they do. Um, I honestly prefer the lowercase real Cyrillic D instead, because it makes sense. Like, why
Yeah.
would you do a lowercase Latin G with the uppercase Cyrillic G? I mean, Cyrillic D. It makes no sense to me. But that I can read the Thai script surprisingly, but I don't know any Thai. I just taught myself the writing script because I knew
Yeah.
it was going to be hard. Um, and then what else? What other writing? Oh, Arabic. I know the Arabic writing system, and I half know the Hebrew writing system. Um, I know the Armenian writing system, but I don't speak Armenian. And what else do there's got to be, oh, Hangul. I know the Hangul alphabet as well. No, I think, oh, and Devangari. I know how to read that as well. But like I don't like some of these alphabets, I know the alphabets, like I know how to
Yeah.
write them, but I don't know the language themselves.
Yeah. How do you practice them? Like,
Well, it's a good thing you asked because I bought your 100 writing systems book, and
oh, you
that's what
have
I've been
it.
using.
Okay.
I have that one too. Yeah, it's not just the ultimate language notebooks. They are not safe from me. But I have that one too, and when I got that one, I was like, there wow, there's like there's a lot of writing systems. And at the time I got it, I was very interested in conlanging, like making my own language and doing certain things with it. And once I was kind of revealed to the system of alphabets and albugitas and all this different writing, I was like, oh wow, okay, I should probably learn a lot more writing systems other than Latin, Cyrillic, Kanji, and Hanzi.
Yeah.
So I started learning a ton about, the different variations of Cyrillic and the different variations of the Arabic alphabet throughout Persian and like Urdu and the different script orthographies and stuff. And I got super deep into writing systems for a while last year. And probably from your book, I feel like was a majority of it came from that. And so I learned the Thai script. I learned Armenian for no reason, just because I thought they were cool. Like
Yeah.
I don't really know why I did it. But yeah, I guess that's a real reason why I learned a lot of those scripts. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, yeah,
Was it
it's
clear enough, the character charts, especially in the
oh yeah.
Abugidas?
Yeah, no, it made a lot of it was probably like it made more sense to me than most of the ones online because especially like the one for Thai I was reading online made absolutely no sense to me. Like they'd literally say, "Oh yeah, sometimes this makes a p sound and other times it makes a h sound." But
Yeah.
hey, you just got to read it and know what it is, otherwise you will never know. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, thanks for telling me that I may never be able to read this. Like, but
Yeah.
with you, it just says it, and you don't like because it's so daunting when you're learning about a writing system and it has all these rules and exceptions and all this, and when you should just learn the alphabet first, memorize it, then figure out the rules. Don't learn the rules with it while you're learning it because then it's just like, oh, it's all over the place and I don't know. It was so easy and laid out to read. Like there's just straight to the fact, no rules or anything. It was just very straightforward.
Yeah, it was quite a journey creating that one because I started that in 2020. Yeah,
Yeah,
2020 autumn, and it took 2 years, about two years to uh, complete it because I was so frustrated in one point that I for 1 year I didn't even touch the InDesign file
oh my
because
gosh.
because my plan was my plan that I achieved was to get all the 100 most important. I mean, it's subjective what's 100 most important, but 100 writing systems that are among the most famous and maybe important in history or some way.
Yeah.
Writing systems in one book so that there would be only one page because I wanted to have one empty page to maybe practice or to do
Yeah,
something.
practice the writing system.
Yeah, and the problem was how to fit everything in one page.
Yeah.
And when you go to Wikipedia or Omniglot and you see the character charts and you're like,
Yeah, you're
my
just
God,
totally lost.
like what should I do? So the one of the hard things was to see how they are compiled in Wikipedia, and then I
mm,
had to make my own character charts. I wanted to create much more
yeah.
simpler charts so that you could watch once and understand. Okay, this
Yeah,
is
and
how.
understand. Yeah. Because
Yeah,
it's way too hard. Omniglot especially has a tendency, especially for Arabic, like the Arabic script, Devanagari and Armenian. Like I could not even come close to reading them on the Omniglot because it's just it tells you all like the layout is so like I don't know who made it. Like I don't know, but I totally understand what you mean when you say that because I can't like learning even the like hiragana katakana. I was like this makes no sense. Like what is this like layout? And yeah, Wikipedia has a lot better, more simple because it's not as complicated as Omniglot has some good programming systems on it to make all the language stuff work on it, but Wikipedia is just it's run by linguists, so they just know what the hell like how to put the charts correct and more
but
simple. But
yeah, but
um
in Wikipedia as well. I think especially with the Abugidas in Wikipedia. They
Yeah,
had
yeah, no, same. I
they
agree.
had tons of charts with the diacrit diacritics, with the medial and final diacritics, and I had
Oh,
to like
nice.
compile, like I was like, oh my god, that
Yeah, it's
was,
just it was a bit too
yeah.
much.
Yeah, and also being able to include some basic information, because I wanted to provide some basic information as well, like
Yeah,
when it was created, which writing direction, because if you start writing, you need to know the direction at
yeah,
least.
you need
So
to know, otherwise you just can't
yeah,
you can't start.
yeah, but yeah, that was quite intense. That was actually last October. So for the last 3 weeks before finishing, I think I worked from morning until midnight, and my wife was, yeah, my wife had to proofread also. She went everything through. She went our file and compared it with Wikipedia and Omniglot both, and she actually found some mistakes from Wikipedia and Omniglot both, because
Really?
I mean, if you know the um, the logic, for example, in Brahmi, if you
Mm,
know the logic, you know how the diacritics or some symbols should be,
yeah.
and when you know it, then you can see, okay, something has happened here. I think there was some technical problems that rendered the diacritics or something in an incorrect way. Because I know it, because
Okay.
I had to uh, change the settings so that it would adjust.
Oh, it would go correctly with it.
Yeah, and we could find some mistakes in Wikipedia and Omniglot, because we saw, oh, okay, that has happened to them as well. They haven't
Yeah.
noticed this one. So
Huh.
yeah, that was pretty crazy. Actually, I noticed there are at least 4 mistakes in that notebook in the titles. If you have noticed, the some languages, some writing systems have the name of the writing system, in the title. So
Yeah.
in some, I found out this when I created the Finnish version of this notebook.
Oh
So
no.
it, it somehow, it's a mirror. It's mirrored the title. It should
Yeah,
be
the
a different
text.
way. Something has happened with the adjustment, so it's, but in the title, and but in the character charts, there were only a few, not many mistakes, but
I
a
didn't
few.
notice anything, like it honestly looked cleaner than even the Ultimate Language notebooks. It was very well done.
Yeah, I actually improved it a bit after the first version. The Finnish one has all the languages that use the writing system. They are ordered alphabetically. In the
Okay.
first one, in the English one, they are in random order. But when I publish it again, now it's on Barnes and Noble. Actually, it's not on my
Oh, really?
online. It's not on my online store, because I've got a bit I've got some problems with the cover. I didn't make that cover. It was my cousin, and
Oh,
and it's hard for me to adjust the size,
yeah.
because in Lulu Press they have different dimensions than Amazon. So that's why I've got the English version only, um which, well, Barnes and Noble is the biggest one, but it's actually in other online stores as well. But
Yeah.
um
I mean, I
yeah,
bought mine through Shopify, but it wasn't through your website though. I just knew because Barnes and Noble has the same system for like because I have Shop on my like the app on my phone, and when I got that one, it was the same system of getting the language Ultimate Language notebooks, except it was through a different um it was through a I guess a different what's how do I guess a different sender of, I guess it was like it was the same because I still used the same like app to buy it, but it was just a different, I guess, publisher who was, I guess,
Mm,
selling it.
yeah,
I don't know how to
yeah,
say
yeah, yeah.
that.
Yeah, okay, okay. Because I don't even know in how many stores it is, because it goes through the publisher to Barnes and Noble and like tens or hundreds of online stores.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
How have you used the empty pages in the 100 writing systems of the world?
I have only used them for the Arabic, Devanagari, and Armenian writing systems. Because I haven't had like a chance or really the motivation to learn any of the other ones because I'm too caught up in all the other languages I'm learning.
Yeah,
But for the Arabic one, I found it really helpful that, it's just it shows the initial, middle, because it's like a lot of the alphabets will just
yeah.
show the initial, I mean the what is it?
So
It's not even
when it's individual,
when it's just
when it's
alone. Like when
alone.
it's
Yeah,
just alone, like it just shows that one. So you have to learn each one. Like you have to search up like aleph, like initial, middle, like, and you have to
yeah,
do like ba, like, and it's just not like that's how I initially learned the Arabic alphabet, and I was like, this is just what am I doing? And so then I got that, and then I saw that there's like a chart for each one, like initial, middle, final, alone, and I was like, I isolated
mhm,
is the word, isolated, and I was like, I didn't even know that this was the layout for it, even though I
yeah,
knew that's how Arabic worked.
yeah,
And so I started, practicing because some of them are really different, especially Ein is like it just like Ein is completely
yeah, yeah,
changes
yeah,
from
yeah, yeah,
one
yeah,
point to another. And so
yeah,
Ein was one I really struggled with. And so I practiced Ein, and I also practiced like Betha, Ba, Tha, and Ta, because those are also just the diacritics are look similar. So I was like,
yeah,
I don't have no clue. And so that was one I struggled with because the internet didn't really have a good job explaining it. So once I read that, I was like, oh, wow, this makes way more sense.
yeah,
And Armenian was also very straightforward, despite the writing system being relatively kind of complex. But it was nice though. It's nice to have the little page on the side to be able to
yeah,
practice and be like, okay,
yeah,
so this is how you can understand it. Like it's very hands on.
yeah. I actually started already the 200 writing systems of the world.
What?
Uh, I,
What? There's gonna be a 200?
I mean,
No way! Oh my
uh,
gosh, I'm
I
excited.
I think I've got currently 120, something like that, in my
Oh wow.
file. So I try every now and then, I try to add
Yeah,
one or two more, like when I have time.
yeah.
So there, at least some of the language, North American, Native American languages, which use the Canadian Aboriginal syllabics. I mean, some languages have a different set of those. Like Inuktitut has some, Ojibwe has a bit different. They have some common characters, but some of them are different. So I will
Yeah.
I will actually add some of those. Also, some of the older versions of some scripts which are already present in the hundreds writing systems, like uh, Pallava. Pallava, I think from Pallava, that evolved into Tamil and many other, and
Oh,
Kodava. And I don't. Okay, I don't even remember all the names now, but yeah, the 200. And actually, I'm not sure how to. Should I just create a book which has 100 more, and like a version 2, so that if you have the first one, you would buy the second one, which doesn't have the same as in the first book, or if I
yeah.
should have all the same 100 that I've already got, but then the printing cost gets higher.
Yeah, it goes up. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking, should I just include the 100 new ones, and after that, uh, in some point add 100 more so that I would have like 300, because I think they are around 300 like historically, if you don't count all the random scripts some people have created that
Yeah.
no one has used. I mean, I think they are around 300, maybe a bit less than 400, but I think I can make it to 300. But now I have to think how should I structure
Huh.
the books? Should I, because I don't want it to be too expensive, but I mean, it would be also cool to have the 200, but then who would buy any more of the 100 writing systems if there's one which has all of them? I mean, I don't know. These are, maybe I will just add all the 100 new ones. So just a different color cover,
Yeah.
and maybe something like version 2 or chap, I don't know, something like that.
Well, yeah, because I feel like the 100 that you already have are the most common writing systems. So that obviously, if you get those, those are going to be, your main ones. But there's the smaller, less significant aspects of writing systems, like what you're saying, like the 200. I feel like like if you organized it into like the most popular into like the most obscure writing systems, or even like, because like it's hard, I see how hard, like that is a really hard decision to make, because
Yeah,
like the cost of printing is not cheap at all, and it's like to add that to that and then not really use the 100 system, because then who's going to really buy that if you have the one that has more? So yeah,
yeah,
that's a hard decision. If I were you, honestly, I'd combine the two, and I'd just kind of like, but it's so hard to do because like the 100 is such a classic. Like
yeah.
it's such a classic. I feel like if you just like completely replaced it with a new one, it'd be like, oh God, like what happened? Like, but I don't know. I mean, it would be nice to have one that had all of them already in them. But at the same time, it'd also be nice to have a completely separate one. I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah, yeah, maybe I'll add 100 more, chapter 2 and 100 after that, so I would have like 3 parts, and maybe in 10 years in the future I would make a compilation and one big book
Yeah,
with
one big
all
book.
the
No, that's a
300.
great idea. Yes, that's a great idea. I'm very, yes,
Yeah,
that is a great idea.
but maybe first separate books for all the like 100, 200 to 3, 100 to 200 and 200 to 300,
300. Yeah. And then
and
one
then
big book to end it
yeah,
all.
yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
But yeah, let's see how I managed to make it, because
Yeah, I mean, you seem really busy right now, and I'm very thankful that I was able to take time to talk to you, because
yeah,
I've really enjoyed this conversation. It's been
yeah.
really fun.
Let me ask 2 final questions.
Okay.
If you found the genie, I mean, let's say you are in Middle East, you find the genie, the magic, what bottle? What, no, what is it in
Oh,
the lamp?
it's
Magic
isn't it
lamp.
the
This is
I
magic
what is it
lamp.
called? Magic lamp. Yep.
Magic lamp. Yeah, you found the magic lamp, and the language polyglot genie came out of it and asked you, okay, Ryan, you have 2 options. Do you want to speak perfectly 10 biggest languages of the world and not speak
Ooh.
any other languages out of those 10, or 1,000 smallest languages of the world? So not, so there are around 7,000 languages in the world. So
Yeah.
10 biggest or 1,000 smallest, language number 6,000 to 7,000, and nothing
Ooh.
outside of that. You would lose all the languages that are not in the top 10 or bottom 1,000. What would you
Oh God.
what would you
Okay. Well, wait. Hold on. I have a quick question. and this is very important. Now, let's
Yeah.
say I know all 1,000 of these smaller languages. Can I still continue to learn languages after I am endowed with this power of knowing all of them?
No.
Oh God. Okay, then I'd have to say the 10 biggest ones because there will always be a chance to speak like a big language with other people, whereas smaller languages like well, that's even like I can't even say that because I'm talking to you right now and you're from Finland and Finnish is not a very big language, like relatively
Well,
speaking.
it's
And
quite
so like
it's actually quite big in a global scope. I mean,
global sense.
it's in top 200.
Oh wow. Okay, that is
Yeah.
actually that okay, that's way bigger than I thought.
Yeah,
That's
that's top 200. And I mean, Finnish language in the internet and academically, it has a very high position in internet, and there's a lot of
okay.
science made in Finnish. So I think, yeah, in a global scope, Finnish is a big language.
Okay, well, okay, I guess I take that back then. Finnish is
Yeah,
not a small language. It's a relatively big one. I didn't know its presence on the internet was that and it's science. Wow, okay, that's interesting,
well,
but
relative
um
to its size, it's quite big
yeah,
in
relative to its
internet. Yeah,
size. Yeah. Yeah, okay, that makes sense because like you could argue that, Iran is probably the same size as Finland. I'd think. I mean, they seem like they'd be the same size. Let me look at my map.
I mean, by area, no, I think Iran is
Way bigger, actually.
many times bigger.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, anyways, 1,000 I'd probably have to choose 1,000 tiny ones, honestly, because
Yeah,
knowing that much about that many across the world would probably help you with understanding how language works more than it would be knowing 10. Like, I mean, I already know like no, I don't speak. I just know at least 9 languages. Like I could read a book in them like no problem.
mhm.
But like it's really just like that amount of knowledge would be absurd. Like 1,000 languages is hey, that's a lot. You know a lot of words. You know how to say one thing 1,000 times. That'd be
Yeah,
insane.
you would understand perfectly the culture, all the
Oh,
cultural
oh,
stuff. Yeah,
culture too? Oh
yeah,
my gosh. Okay, so if I got the culture plus the language, I definitely do 1,000.
yeah,
That'd be immense. Like you'd understand how humanity worked if that's the
yeah,
case. Like you would just understand like the tinities nobody even knows exist across the world.
yeah. Well,
That would be
actually,
insane. So
yeah,
I'd have to say the 1,000 tiniest ones, honestly.
yeah. I actually hadn't thought about this. Would you know the culture perfectly? But I think if you speak the language perfectly, you need to that would require you to also understand the culture, because
Yes, it would definitely.
you
Yeah,
wouldn't be able to speak perfect Japanese if you wouldn't know the all the honorifics and how to different registers. I mean, I think,
yeah,
yeah. So I think that's automatically included when, yeah,
yeah. Definitely. Like it's you can't like yeah. Japanese is almost notoriously like impossible to learn without you living in the country. Like it's just not possible. Like
yeah,
there will never be an individual in history who can speak Japanese better than a native person who's been living there all their life. Like that, I can't like I've been studying Japanese long enough, like 5, 6 years, enough to understand that like I will never become fluent in Japanese, and that's just the reality of it.
yeah,
And I probably will never like just never be close to that even a level where a native is because just growing up in Japan with everything that's going on there is so just it's completely different than it is anywhere else. Like at least when you move to like if I were to move to Finland, I don't know how much would be different from the United States, but certain systems of like, transit or, whether or not it's like just social attitudes, I feel like would be somewhat similar. Whereas Japan, everything is like
mhm,
every part of society is completely different. Like it's like
yeah,
you can't even like time isn't even the same. Like they use a different system of clocks. Everything is completely different.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like you'd have to learn, especially for small languages like that, where I mean they have no connection really to other communities because their language is so small and their culture is so small. I feel like it'd be hard for somebody, English speaker like myself, American, who hasn't ever gone anywhere else but like a few countries in Europe, to be like, wow, I didn't know this existed, and it has nothing related to my culture at all. Like that would be such an eye opener for me. I feel like I'd much rather do that than know the 10 biggest languages already. Like I semi do. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not a genius. I don't speak in 9 languages fluently, but like enough to like say, 10 languages isn't really a lot, but it's 1,000 languages is like, bro, like that. I mean, if you know that, you can probably I don't know, like you could probably solve the problem to world peace, honestly.
yeah. What do you think, out of these 1,000 communities, where these 1,000 languages are spoken, in how many would you get killed, for example? I mean, I guess I started we started talking about this with my wife, and we were starting
Yeah.
to think, hmm, I mean, I th especially if my wife, who's a like a white person, would go to some of these indigenous tribes in the Amazon or Africa, or uh, the islands in the Indian Ocean, the I don't
Oh,
remember, and Andaman,
state
Andaman, or maybe
Andaman. Yeah, Andaman
Andaman.
Islands.
Yeah. So I think people might think she's a witch, and they might,
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
probably
or a god. I mean, I think
for
I
all
think
we know,
so. I think if you don't look like the locals, there might be some communities where you might be regarded as a god, or a Satan, or a witch that has to
yeah,
be.
or something.
Yeah. So what do you think? Out of 1,000, in how many would you dare to go into, and or what do you
Probably
think?
a little more than half, because like if you really take into consideration the violence that happens around the world in certain communities, most notoriously like West Africa. I mean West Africa, besides India, is probably the most linguistically diverse region on the planet. And so, because of all the conflict that's going on there, Liberia, Ghana, like these countries are just like not, they don't have a government that really supports the communities that are just there. Like they've always been there, and these governments are trying to cooperate with them in order to make a country, but it just never works.
Yeah.
And I feel like that it in itself is already dangerous, having a government that controls like certain communities that are completely different from the intentions of the government. It just
Mm.
never works out ever. And like the Kurds, even like the Kurds, they are completely different from the interests of what serve them. Like the governments that control Kurdish land and like Kurdish communities have zero interest to have them in their country, yet they won't do anything about it to like let them have their own thing. And so, like, let's say I were to go to, I don't know, somewhere in the middle of India. I don't like Hyderabad. Let's go to Hyderabad and, go to some village outside. And I feel like there, because there is a government that with interests that serve them more than, just this other group of people, because Indians are all viewed kind of as this one collective identity. And that's why I love India, is because everybody just like has this sense of connection with each other, no matter what language or identity you conform yourself to. And I feel like it'd be a lot more easier going to a place like that where there's already no conflict between groups, and being able to be more accepted into that culture. Whereas somewhere in West Africa where it's a lot more different, meeting somebody over there where it's like, what do you want with my people? Like, what are your intentions with my community? Like, really, I think that's what it comes
Mm.
down to. and religion, yeah, like you literally you could go somewhere in Central America and it's like nobody like I've never seen like a white person before. Like, where did you come from? Like,
Yeah,
I people would freak out. Like, I could see how that could be, and that's honestly just that's beyond languages for me. Like, that's a whole different thing. That's like a societal
mm,
social like I don't even know how to explain that. That's beyond my expertise is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
socio political stuff like that because you it's not even about like community, it's about humanity versus like nature, like because you can't know that other people that are different exist. You have to be revealed to it yourself. And so when you're revealed to it, you come into this new world where you're like I can't believe any of this existed because like your identity is so different from everybody else's. It's like I can't believe this. I can't believe this. And I it's hard to explain because
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so much obscurity and so
Mm,
much randomness that plays into what really would happen in a hypothetical situation like that. But largely, I think if I went to more than half of these places, I feel like we'd get along really well just out of the fact that my intentions with this community and with this language is not to be like, I'm not trying to take anything from them. I'm not trying to like do anything with them. I'm just trying to talk to them, you know?
yeah. I think the reactions would be really interesting to see.
Oh yeah, I'd love I that would actually probably be the best thing ever is to see reactions of people speaking their language that they've never heard outside their village speak before or something like that. Like that would be probably a dream come true. That's crazy.
Yeah. I think if they would have some mythology talking about a godlike person like this and it would be you, I think if your life would be so good in this tribe, I think maybe you might not even want to go or have the energy to go to these other
Yeah, other
999
places.
communities because you're I mean I'm a god here. I
I don't need to go
mean,
anywhere. I have
yeah,
everything I need right here.
yeah,
Food,
yeah,
I have
yeah.
a freaking palace. Like,
Yeah, because you don't know what's going to happen in the next place. Maybe they think, yeah, you're a Satan or
yeah,
something.
Satan, they're gonna rip your face off or something. Like you
Yeah,
just never know. Like it's just expectations with languages and humans in general can never be. You can never solidify them. Yeah, I mean it's always fluid. I don't
yeah,
know. Language is just it's just an ocean that moves
yeah,
constantly with different contexts and scenarios and everything.
yeah. Now that I've asked this question a lot of my guests, I've started to think maybe I should create a fictional book which like in which the this is the plot like a traveler somewhere uh,
Yeah,
gets this option and then picks the thousand smallest ones and just see the adventures.
yeah, no, that'd be really cool. You know, I
Yeah.
had an I so I watched this YouTube video and it was this guy who went into a coma and he woke up speaking Chinese fluently without even ever speaking it ever. And it was real.
Yeah.
Like this guy had never spoken Chinese ever. And he goes into this coma for 2.5 years, wakes up, and he's just all of a sudden doesn't speak English, only speaks Chinese. Like he needed like a Chinese interpreter and everything to like translate what he was saying. Like it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. But like imagine if you just like you got in a car accident one day, you woke up and you just couldn't speak English at all, and you just spoke just 1,000 random languages you never even knew existed. Like
Yeah,
that'd be
yeah.
crazy.
Wow,
That would
yeah,
be
that would be,
insane.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I have to add this idea on my list, creating a fictional book for language nerds.
Dude, I'd buy it. I'd buy it for sure.
Yeah.
You've already got my money.
Nah, I wouldn't take your money. I would have to like gift it with like other like some texts and
Oh, an autograph? Oh,
with
dude.
like not just an autograph with the like a long text from me and my wife and like all this. I mean, in
Dude.
that point, I would have to do that.
Oh my gosh, that'd be awesome. That'd be stuff. I mean, if you ever end up doing that, I I mean, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I promise I will give the first copy to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, let's go.
Yeah. And now the last question. This is also hypothetical. So
Okay.
would you rather um, speak speak all the languages, but you wouldn't be able to read or write, or
Ooh.
you would be able to read and write all the languages, dead and alive, but you wouldn't be able to speak. You could
Ooh.
understand. So you would have to, if someone spoke to you, you would have to write the answer. But you cannot produce speech. But you can
Ooh.
understand all the ancient scripts on all the ruins and everything. You could
Oh
read
my
and write,
God.
but you couldn't speak. Which one would you pick?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say that if I could read and write in any ancient language, learning cuneiform would be like I have obsessed over ancient writing systems for a very long time, especially the Rosetta Stone because it's there's no script that goes with the Rosetta Stone. It's just like it's a random script we still don't know. And it's always interested me because like what is the writing system? Like if I were to be able to read and write in cuneiform and Babylonian, I'd be able to probably decipher what the first writing system was, which would be insane because I mean you'd basically be figuring out the root of human writing. Like that I don't like if I had the chance to do that, I'd probably do that. So I'd probably choose reading and writing every ancient and living language because at that point you can move to a country and you don't really have to know like the context of like what people are doing. You can just live your life because you understand what what people like what signs say and stuff. Like I feel like it'd be more important in general to know like the language written in order to like get documents for that country and get a job and stuff. Like it'd be a lot more easier to live in a different country with the knowledge of writing and reading than it would be spoken. But at the same time you wouldn't be able to make friends or talk to anybody or have like hands-on experiences with other people, which I really like as like speaking language. Like it's my favorite part.
Yeah.
And so that's really where it differs, is whether or not I get to learn everything about these every language that has ever existed. Is just like I get to know his writing system is just like absurd. But also I wouldn't be able to speak, which I is my favorite part about learning a language. It's just like, oh man, this is a tough question, but oh, I mean, I'd have to go with the reading and writing. I mean, if I knew how to read cuneiform, like Babylonian 2,000-year-old writing, I mean, dude, I don't know, like that's where it would be at. I mean, that's my goal right now. I mean, cuneiform was like I started learning about, the Epic of Gilgamesh and Babylonia and all these ancient like places when I was like 11, and that's kind of what brought me into like wanting to learn languages, was all these ancient places that made what is now these modern languages. And I was like how does that how does that add up? So knowing that would be insane. I think that would be my choice, is reading and writing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think
But
that was all the questions I had, and
nice.
yeah. Do you have anything to add? Something we didn't talk about?
Not necessarily, no, but I'm kind of interested in what your upbringing was with learning languages, because I'd never really heard a lot about how you started to learn languages.
Yeah, maybe I
Yeah.
should make a whole episode about that. But in summary, so uh, Finnish was the only language I spoke until I was 6,
Mm,
and then I started learning English. We we lived a year in England, in Newcastle. Uh,
nice.
so from 6 to 7 in England, and after that, 3 years in Estonia, where I lived. I learned Estonian and also German because I watched a lot of German TV.
Okay.
And then on seventh grade, Swedish, which is like mandatory.
Yeah.
Then in high school, I took Italian and Spanish on the second year of my high school. And I took a year of Latin.
Huh.
Then in the university, I took some courses in Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. After that, in my next education, in my next degree, I had French and Russian, and I also took some courses in Arabic, Hindi, Turkish, some other languages as well at that time, 2016, 17, 18,
Oh,
in an adult education center.
nice.
And during the last few years, the new languages I've studied are last year Korean. So I'm a beginner. Yeah, maybe A1 is my level.
Okay.
And Northern Sami at the same time. And this year I started in January Japanese.
Ooh.
Then there are languages that I've been self studying, like Indonesian, Persian, with like on my own or with some language buddies.
Yeah.
So I've got like I've got a list of around 20 languages that I want to master during my lifetime. But of course, I want to learn also some basics in other languages. But I've got this
Yeah.
list of languages that I want to master, and in the future make also podcast episodes in. But I mean, Indonesian or Chinese, they will require another 2 3 years before I'm on that level. Even maybe in Chinese, even more.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
Chinese, I mean, that's a step up from, just, I mean, going from just learning it to podcasts, like that's whoa. Like
yeah. I don't know. Maybe 2030. Let's see.
2030.
I mean,
We'll see.
I've got. I'm. If I would live in China for 1 year, it would be possible. But I've got so many different projects and
Yes, you have a lot on your
yeah,
plate.
children and new school, like learning to program and all that stuff. It's not so easy, and
No.
maintaining my languages, creating new products, and trying to market them. And so that's why I think Chinese is going to take a while before I'm on that level, before being able to like make a podcast episode. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's
But
see.
nonetheless, I think that goal is very realistic. I think you can definitely do it. And even like despite how little time it seems you have, you it seems like you've amassed like a huge collection of language like learning experience over a very like long period of time, which is good because with me it's like I'm 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 more or less an intermediate in a lot of languages I speak, but it's because of how many I was learning at the same time. Like for you, it was kind of more spread out and not as intensive because like I find myself learning new languages that I can't remember any phrases in because of my just I learned so many languages at the same time. They're all at the same level. It's like I can't move on from those levels forward without just like mastering all the languages across the board. And so like that's like that's hard for me, but like uh but like Chinese is like it's just one of those languages. I mean, you really just have to live in the country or something. Otherwise, it's just you can't like
Yeah,
I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. But
yeah,
I guarantee you if you just like I mean, you don't even have to put like necessarily effort in it to, host a podcast and because Chinese like it's one of those languages you can never be fluent in. It's just that's just how it is. I mean, there are some people though on YouTube who are just like, oh God, like like they make me laugh because I'm just like I can't even believe like this person speaks Chinese this well. Like it blows me away. But I feel like if you hosted somebody on your podcast, they'd be very understanding of your level because of just how much I mean you have really put a lot of effort into your products and your work, which I really respect as like a fellow linguist, and especially with all the shit going on in your own life. It seems like you have a lot going on, but you still have a lot to aspire towards, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, yeah, I know it doesn't need to be perfect, but uh, like I've made episodes in Italian, which is not my most fluent language, but it's
Yeah.
enough to be able to discuss about things in an improvised way.
Yeah.
But in Chinese, I think I need some. I still need more vocabulary so that
Okay.
I don't need to
More of a
ask
base.
every sentence like, "Hey, what was that? What was that?" Because in my previous episodes in maybe languages like Italian or Russian,
Yeah.
I asked a few times, like every 5 or 10 minutes, but it's not all the time. So, and that's okay for me. Or
Yeah.
stuttering with the words and not being able to remember something, that's okay. But um, yeah, I think I will when I feel like I'm able to carry out a whole discussion. I will do it, but I feel like I still need some more basics and more structures, and
Yeah.
so if the guest says something I don't understand, I could definitely ask, hey, what was that in Chinese? But
Yeah.
now
But you
there would
don't
be
want to
too
do it
much.
often.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't want to, yeah,
I
do too often.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, that's how I am with Chinese, just because it's very fast and it's hard to kind of get the basis of what somebody just said in a short sentence, especially. So I can definitely understand where you're coming from in that aspect, like
Yeah,
wanting to do that yet. But yeah, but um, yeah, I guess. But thank you for telling me your history with that because that's really cool.
yeah. I have to add that I've actually made one episode in Swedish where my guest spoke in Danish,
Oh,
and
what?
and when I think about the Chinese episode, so I I felt like I understand enough Danish, and that was a small experiment. I just wanted to see how it goes. I didn't care if it
Went
doesn't work.
badly or anything?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it went quite well, and I, I want to do similar episodes with like speaking Estonian, and the guest would speak in Võro or Seto, which are
Yeah.
dialects, or some consider them languages, and like Finnish, and the guest would speak in Karelian, and like have
Oh, yeah.
and I think Luxembourgish would be possible too. I
Oh,
would,
yeah,
because I
for sure.
for a year I've listened um, Luxembourgish when I've watched Formula One in. Uh,
Oh,
there was a free stream on the Luxembourgish channel, so
huh.
I would love to also try that. But at least I know that, okay, after listening to these languages, I understand enough. But I think still Chinese. I mean, even though I've studied Chinese since 2016, I feel like no, I couldn't do that. But Luxembourgish and Danish, because Danish and Swedish, I mean, they're quite similar.
Yeah.
Luxembourgish, if you know a lot of Germanic languages, it's not a problem. Like,
Okay.
and Luxembourgish, if you know German and French and some Dutch,
Okay.
it's
So it's pretty
it's not.
much that's the picture.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not used to hearing it, it might be hard, but I think
Okay.
I might be able to. So um, yeah, but
That,
Chinese and some. other languages like Hindi, Indonesian, my level is still so low, like not beginner, but intermediate, but
Yeah,
low
it's just
intermediate. So
low.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
No, I feel you because that's where I am right now in languages like Arabic and Hindi, where like I know the basics. It's just my level is not high enough to conduct like conversations or like even like larger like reading or something. Like I can say like I can speak it naturally with myself, but having a conversation with somebody else or actually using it in a situation where I need to is a bit more difficult.
yeah. I've noticed that when you speak naturally with someone and they say something you didn't expect, or I mean, you have to react so quickly that
Yeah.
it's quite
Yes.
hard. I mean, my Italian, for example, or German are much better than you would estimate from the episode, maybe, because in the
Yeah.
episode I have to react so quickly, but when I have time, I mean, I sound much more fluent. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's always hard to like naturally speak with someone and react really quickly and have all the words in your mind. And yeah,
Oh yeah, definitely. That's actually a huge thing. I've never considered reactions like a big thing in language learning, but now that you bring it up, there's been so many scenarios where I've noticed myself not being focused when I'm listening to somebody speak and I end up not understanding or being really slow in my response because I'm either talking to myself about what I'm supposed to be saying,
yeah,
translating myself and so forth, or really just not focused on the conversation and I'm not really like paying attention. And so yeah, reaction time is if like probably the biggest determiner to understanding like spoken language because you can like take all the time you want with reading and writing and that's probably why people are so much better at it than speaking because you have all the time in the world whereas speaking you have no time you have to
yeah,
react right there like there's nothing and you have to gauge what level you are in all those languages your focus and your ability to react like that's definitely a huge thing and I've never considered it up until you brought it up just now.
yeah, yeah,
That is crazy. Yeah,
yeah,
wow. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
That's
Anyways, thank you for the interesting discussion, and also for all our viewers and listeners who still are listening to us after a bit more than 3 hours. So I hope it
oh my
was interesting for you as well. And yeah, thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me, Christian. Or
Thank you,
Christian. Is
everyone.
it Christian or is it Christian?
I say Christian. In Finland, we say Christian.
Okay, so I'll just call you Christian then.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Nice. Well,
Oh,
thank you for having me on. I very much appreciate talking to you, and it was a really fun time getting to know a lot more. Like I learned a lot from today. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. Thank you, and see you in the next episode, everyone.
Yeah,
Bye.
I'll see you. Thank you.